some other things to make some income.
One job, two jobs.
Be glad I don't have the cart library up.
It's Monday. You know it's Monday. I know it's Monday. We all know it's Monday. Doesn't matter. Time to rock and roll. Welcome in, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio after a weekend that I can certifiably say was dramatically too short. Now, I'm not going to be that guy. I know you all have that guy at the office that's going to show up and go, hey, short weekend, huh? Yes, we all know. It most definitely was. But we got shorted by an hour, okay? We got shorted by an hour, and I did not even do on Friday the customary, I believe obligatory, sports talk radio show thing where you are obligated to spend at least some amount of time complaining about the fact that we still do this dumbass time change thing.
By the way, it's not exclusively the sports radio. It's all radio.
All
does
radio
it.
shows.
I forgot Saturday night. I mentioned it a couple times. I forgot all about it. I mean, I didn't forget this morning, though.
I didn't forget yesterday morning.
Well, I didn't sleep well last night. So, I mean, and whether I lost an hour or not probably really doesn't matter.
I got done Saturday. We went, obviously, to the Greenville Triumph game Saturday night. The Triumph get a 3-1 dub in the first game of the Rick Wright era. Well done, Coach. Was
it cold and wet out there?
It was not wet. Fortunately, the rain stopped. It was a bit chilly, but it's late winter sports. You're just going to have to deal with it. It's not like it was, I don't know, -7 where a bunch of your fans have to get limbs amputated for going to a game cold, but
yeah.
that's a thing we're all super, super cool with. Yay, snow football that causes people to lose arms. That's fun.
Yeah, that's on them.
That's fun.
I mean, dress warmer.
Yeah, for sure.
You live in a cold weather space.
Don't worry. We're coming to that.
I was wondering what that was. Now I know. I don't actually click on them, but I do look and see what it is.
Don't you worry about that. But it was a phenomenal time. Got to the house, went home. The fortunate thing is right now, because your boy is a fat, I am not currently boozing, except for the couple of shotguns we did in the tailgate, because that you have to do. But outside of that, not drinking. And so it wasn't like a long night with the wake up call. We had a 8:30 tea time on Sunday, which I was reminded Saturday night, because I didn't even know it was dumbass time change time. Reminded Saturday night, hey, Rob, don't forget, yeah, it's an 8:30 tea time, but really it's a 7:30 tea time because you're losing an hour. Dear America, we have to stop. I don't know one person, not a single, I don't know a farmer who is still on board.
You don't know any farmers.
I know lots of farmers.
Do you? Name one.
I don't know any farmers, but that's not the point. The point here is this thing's dumb, and we have to stop it and pick one. I don't care if it's the one where the sun goes down at 5 p.m. or where it goes down at 9 p.m. because somehow 1 hour difference changes all of that. But we have to stop. We needed to stop with this eons ago, but now we definitely have to stop with this crap. I'm begging whoever is on the time control committee that makes this decision, stop. And I know it's possible because Arizona said, screw this, we're not doing it anymore. There's like 9 counties, not the state. There's like 9 counties in Ohio that were like, we're not doing this anymore. Even if it's just in our little square of territory, we're not doing this anymore. And I'm sure it wreaks chaos upon those who live in one county and like work in another, trying to figure out as the time changes. All right, that means I got to go to work an hour earlier, but like if it's 7 here, it's 6 there. But if it's 6 there, it's 9. Somehow it's 9 o'clock somewhere else. It's probably pandemonium, but at least those people have been willing to take a damn stand against this.
All right, so we stay away from politics, but if one of the presidential candidates were to say, if I'm elected, I will abolish daylight saving time.
That's a big push in that direction. All right? That's a real big push in that direction. I am also going to say that one of our buddies booked this tea time like 3 weeks ago and wasn't, because who the hell was thinking about the time change. So it was kind of an accident.
Was it dark when you got there?
No.
So why are you complaining?
Because it was 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
it was 8:30 in the morning, but it was 7:30 in the morning.
But Rob, even with losing an hour, it's still you sleeping in.
Yes. That was very true. I did recognize that it was still like 4 hours more sleep than I normally get. But still, that's Sunday. Sunday's my sleep-in day. Sunday's my day where I'm not supposed to get out of bed until there's 2 digits on the clock.
Is that the truth, though? Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
Really? You sleep that because you stay up really late Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, again, because I work on Saturdays. I work 6 days a week every week. Now, in fairness, this is not me complaining because my jobs are amazing. On Saturday, I don't even have to prep the show for Saturday. I sit in the chair and Mario's done the hard work. All I got to do is show up and be pretty and I nail it, but it is still working.
Yeah, I also work on Saturday. So,
but again, Saturday shows are fun for us. They're still work. So Sundays.
I wonder if I could get Mario to prep my show.
Probably not. Probably not. He complains enough about having to prep.
I'm guessing he's probably not into some of the stuff that I'm into. So.
He might be surprised. All of us are. We had a whole conversation on Saturday's show about I don't know if you saw the renderings of the new Vegas stadium that the Athletics put out. It's very Star Trek-y, okay? Like instead of having a Jumbotron, they're going to have a big roof almost like a roof arch that sweeps over the stadium. And instead of having a Jumbotron, they want to laser project what you would put on a Jumbotron. They want to laser project it up on the roof. It's kind of dope looking, right? And it's almost hologrammy. And so we were talking about that, and we basically went off down this whole path of like how this stadium is going to be the most technologically advanced stadium in all of sports. We still hate John Fisher, and if I ever see John Fisher in person, I'm gonna Camila Cardoso him. He can catch these hands, is what I'm saying.
She just kind of shoved her a little. I mean,
she put some ass into that shove.
Well, though. She was running and an abrupt stop, and I mean because of how physics works, and the
fact that she's 6'7" and homegirl was 5'10".
Well, there's that, and also. Man, she's going to look good in a WWE ring. That's all I got to say.
Texter just said, let's get to it. Can we get Shane Beamer to have Cardoso be our tight end?
No, you want her to be defensive end.
I was going to say, I'm putting her on the pass rush. I'm putting her on the edge rusher spot. Absolutely. We are absolutely going to talk about that.
I watched that entire game, by the way, including that I have watched Gamecock games throughout the season.
So proud
and I knew that the championship game was on. Were you actually there?
No, I was not.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean,
I'm gonna tell you,
there was a chance that you could have been. I know a bunch of people were. So
there was a chance, and frankly, I acknowledge that I likely should have been. But by the time we got done playing golf and I got back to the house, my day was over. My day was over. I'm a bad media member. I'm gonna take the heat. I should have gone. But by the time we were playing like an hour from the house, we went out for a round. And so by the time we got out there, goofed off, finished 18, the game plan was get done playing golf, get back to the house, have a shower, have a shave, and then get down to the well. I didn't get back to the house until after 1:45. So by the time I got in, got changed, got showered, it was already like 2:45. Tip was at 3, and the only thing I did not have was a parking spot. And so basically what would have happened is if I'd have gone to the game, I'd have gotten there like halftime. And I was like, I need to be in a spot. I watched it. I obviously stayed up and watched it. And by stayed up, I mean me and the same fellas I just played golf with went out to a bar and watched it. But I watched it.
Okay, so the going home and shower thing never actually happened.
No, it did. I went home, I showered, I got the dog, I put the dog on the leash, and we went out and met up at a bar because the options were don't do that, go to the game, miss effectively the first half, watch the second half in person or go in front of a giant TV and watch the whole thing.
I was
And
gonna say, or sit at home with a moo on watching, the
I gotta
game
tell you,
from-
I was real close. As Lonzo will tell you, I am sometimes apt to do real close to hitting the "sorry fellas, I got comfy" text. Real close. But I went out. We watched the whole game. Got home, watched a little bit of a rewind, and chaos, baby. It got a little heated there at the end. Got a little tense. And we're going to talk about that coming up later. And I am going to say that despite what some media members are going to tell you, it did not detract from what was a phenomenal basketball game. Phenomenal basketball
I can't
game.
wait to see if you're gonna rep your kin or if you're gonna rep the state that you now live in.
I had no dog in the fight. I had warranted reason for being neutral in this game. And I was. I got a lot of friends and family members who are LSU fans. But at the same time, obviously, based on where I live, work, and who I am marrying, I got a lot of Carolina in my family as well now. So for me, this was two really good teams playing for a trophy. Let's just have a hell of a basketball game. And the ladies put on a show at the Well yesterday. It was gritty. They were getting after it. I will tell you, I don't know how to tell you how much money I would have paid to have all them players mic'd up yesterday. Because it was getting chippy for a while. And then it just boiled over at the end. And by the way, let me throw this out. And we're going to talk about this when we get there here in just a minute. To my guy, who apparently, from what I was reading, was the brother of the girl that Cardoso knocked to the
I
court.
changed the thing because the Sports Flash to put that in there because it was the brother.
I don't care. If it was her brother, dad, identical twin, I don't care.
Stay off the court, dude.
Stay off the court, bro. And even if you aren't going to stay off the court, what was your plan?
Oh, he grabbed her too.
Yeah, what were you? Were you about to start throwing hands at some female college basketball players?
That to me is battery, isn't it? When you put hands on someone, she could definitely sue him for that. Or he was arrested. I'm guessing he was arrested.
There's no doubt.
They could have just escorted him out. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I didn't check to see if there are arrest reports.
We were at the bar, and one of the fellas I was watching with was like, "Rob, you got to find that guy and get him on the show." And I'm like, no, I'm not giving that guy a minute of attention.
Why?
But even if I was going to put him on the show, the only way I'm going to talk him into coming on the show is if I go down to the Greenville County Jail and pay his bond. Because if that guy's not in the back of a cop car, I don't know who would be.
Well, we got people that, we could find out if he's there and could probably go down and interview him for us. I mean, we have a news station right over there. So.
I don't want to interview him. I don't want to talk to him. I don't want him on the show. And I know what's going to happen is that dude's about to get the national podcast circuit.
He should not.
Should not.
I get that you want to protect your sister, but what were you going to do?
What's your plan, dog?
Yeah.
Like, when you went over that? Don't get me wrong. By the way, props on the agility because the scores table was nothing to him. It was foot on and over.
But it also shows the lack of security anywhere in basketball and how someone could do that. Once people see that happen, about copycats. Copycats happen all the time. I hope this is a one-time incident.
I am going to say, first off, there were at least two other people trying to follow him, and Greenville off duty got them before they even.
Yeah, I only saw
table.
one other guy, but there were
two
stopped.
other dudes minimum that tried to get there. Both of them got driven back into the barricade before they got there. That dude was over the table, and there was a Greenville County Sheriff's deputy in his back pocket. He got a hand on Cardoso, and then that cop got two hands on him. I understand it. I get it. I have
Think
been
of
around
what
basketball court.
No, I
You're
know.
not like that is the first time out of a lot of fans I've seen try.
All right, no
that
one on the
anybody
stream
got there.
says he didn't get arrested. He should have been arrested. Thing is, I'm not disparaging the police. You only have so many, and that's a big crowd. And he got there as fast as he could, but it could have been worse. We've talked about storming the court, and you've talked about someone getting hurt and all that. And I know this is one person storming the court. But it could have been scary. It absolutely could have been scary because he could have walked down there and punched her in the face. That would have been a bad idea for him because
My
she
girl
probably
was 6'7".
Yeah,
I'm
she-
pretty sure she can handle her own business.
and she looks mean.
Yeah.
So yeah.
She is a certified, genuine badass. She goes 6'7". If that dude
You
put
know
hands
what?
on Camila Cardoso, he would not have had a good
You
day.
know what? You can't teach that, Rob.
Oh, it's too late. It's too late. Texter said classless. Both teams, both coaches didn't start with the melee at the end. It started with all the trash talking and hair pulling throughout the game. NCAA ought to hammer both teams hard.
All right. So what about the referees who could they let that style of play go? I mean, it's on them to a degree.
I want to address that. In fact, here's what we're going to do. I appreciate that text. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, let's get into this whole thing because I do want to talk about it. I do want to get to it. And I want to get to it not just for, like, we obviously are going to have a little bit of fun with it, but also it's relatively serious. It's two college basketball teams full of the top-notch athletes at their sport who are getting at it, and there's a lot of people who believe it ruined an otherwise fantastic championship game. And I do want to get to it as well as Don Staley's response to the whole thing after the game. We'll do that when we come back. That guy over there, that's the great one, Lonzo. My name is Rob Brown. Let's have some fun. The Rob Brown Show begins. The Monday edition is underway here on the Fan Upstate. Cool.
Not really, but yeah.
No, it's not cool. That was a very sarcastic.
Yeah. Okay. So the lunch will not happen until Penn is on paper.
So Wednesday.
Yeah, well, Wednesday. So plan on it Wednesday if it happens. I mean, wonder if he has to pass a physical.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
but he will.
So he could fail the physical and then not sign.
Russell Wilson's a weirdo. There's no chance he fails a physical.
I think there's a chance. There's always a chance, Rob.
Sure, if he like steps off a plane and breaks his ankle between here.
I mean, I don't want that to happen, but
I don't want that. I obviously don't want that to happen.
Went there to eat again Saturday, by the way.
How was it?
I got something different. I got the hamburgers are really good. I had chicken before. I also got this thing, which are sweet potatoes cut in I forget what those fries. What are the fries? They look like grid patterns.
Waffle fries.
Waffle fry. I don't know why I can't fit. So they had those. I'm still not sure if I liked it or not because it had a chipotle sauce, cheese, and bacon on it.
I like it already.
Yeah, but I think it would have been better with regular potatoes. So and I wonder if they have it with regular potatoes. The sweet potato, it didn't exactly mesh entirely with the sauce, but I took what I didn't eat home and ate it yesterday. So, I mean, obviously and it came in a little skillet. Anything that comes in a little skillet, little cast iron skillet.
I do like a skillet. All right, so we're going to bring this up on the show later. We did Parlay v. Parlay this weekend. I'll bring it back up.
Breaks are a little short.
Southeastern Conference Championship game on the women's side yesterday. The South Carolina Gamecocks taking on the Tigers of LSU. Don Staley, Kim Mulkey. This has become a bit of a rivalry the last couple of years. Obviously, it's a relatively brand new South Carolina team this year. Angel Reese joined.
Punk. Kim Mulkey, punk. That whole team is a bunch of punks, man. They're a bunch of punks.
We're going to get to it because I can.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to shade them a little bit.
I cannot contain myself.
I see that.
I'm gonna stop.
That was very
punks.
aggressive.
Go
Lonzo.
home, punks.
I
hope you can hear us because you're punks.
Very aggressive. So this has been a bit of a rivalry the last couple of years. This was a bit of a rivalry because of the chaos last year. You kind of throw Caitlin Clark in the Iowa Hawkeyes. By the way, Caitlin Clark looked like a machine yesterday as well, putting up another 34 and winning the Big Ten. But this has been a bit of a rivalry, and Kim Mulkey v. Dawn Staley, and I think we'd be silly not to pretend that there's a lot of different angles to this rivalry being built. You have Bayou Barbie and Angel Reese down there in Baton Rouge. Haley Van Lith comes down from Louisville, probably I would argue, going into this year, probably third most discussed women's college basketball player in America. She realized, hey, I'm not going to win a natty at Louisville, so I'm going to transfer. She goes down and links up with Bayou Barbie, Angel Reese, a lot of good players down there at LSU. Dawn Staley turns the whole roster over, and everybody thought Dawn Staley's Gamecocks going to be a bit of a rebuilding year. Nope, they're right there undefeated going into this. By the way, we haven't even mentioned the buzzer beater that Cardoso knocked down in the semis against Tennessee to get them into that game yesterday. So there's all this going on. And then we get to yesterday's game. And in yesterday's game, I'm real mad you sent me that, Lonzo. I'm real mad.
It's pretty funny, isn't it?
I'll put it on the stream in just a minute. So this game was very heated. Spur Daddy just said, hey, Kim Mulkey, quit trying to pull off the Ric Flair look. Only the nature boy can get away with that.
I don't know. I don't know. I
mean, I love it.
Those frills make me angry. I mean, why are they there? They're there just to make me angry, and it works.
Somebody at the bar yesterday, Mulkey, you look like a dumbass peacock. Sit down. And I lost my mind. All right, seriously, we got to get to this thing.
You're trying to offset the
tension.
The angry lady look. I mean, you're an angry. There are words for that of what she might be. You're trying to offset that by putting frills on your sleeves, and it just don't work.
Listen, I am never going to fault somebody for being a bit ostentatious in the way that they dress. I've showed up to multiple events in a sequined red jacket.
How many tablecloths does she have? Because I mean, she's using them all for what she's wearing. It's like watching a Carol Burnett skit. But anyway,
so
she's a punk, by the way.
From the beginning, because this has turned into the Southeastern Conference's most vicious basketball rivalry, men's or women's side, over the last 2 years, the gals were chippy. They were chippy.
I wish I could remember. The announcers called it something else. And I was thinking, is this the female equivalent of chippy? And he didn't say chippy. Man, I can't remember what it was. But I was like, okay, what happened to chippy? Can you not say that for?
There is a whole offset conversation that comes from this that I'm going to get to. Whole offset conversation about it that I want to get to. Now, that's not it. There's a whole offset conversation about language around this game. Okay. And it's going to be one that's going to earn me a couple of Liberob texts, and I'm ready for it. I'm prepared. So they were getting a little bit chippy last night early in this game. And it's unsurprising to me because you've got two teams that play very physical basketball. It was pointed out to me that Angel Reese takes like less than 1 3-pointer a game on average. Why? Because she wants to get down into the paint and get dirty with the basketball. She wants contact. And then, of course, the Gamecock offense shoots a lot of threes, but they want to play to the inside of they want to play to the inside of the arc and then open up the 3-point shot to the outside by playing through Cardoso. That is why when Camila Cardoso took those couple of games off, because she went down to Brasilia to play for her international team, there were a lot of questions. There were a lot of concerns about whether or not South Carolina would be able to win a couple of tough games, including one against UConn, without her, because the game flows through her. So Nolan popped into the chat and he said Angel Reese elbowed out of Cardoso in the second quarter, and I don't even think it was a T2. These two teams were absolutely getting after it. Now, part of this is that LSU under Kim Mulkey is 1,000% a team that wants to aggravate you. They want to get inside your head. They want to play mind games. They are going to play dirty under the basket. They are going to poke and prod and give you those rib shots until you break. And here's the thing. There's a lot of basketball teams like that. That is the entire identity of some teams. Guys, do we not to some degree celebrate the bad boy Pistons of Detroit? Here's the reality. Is LSU a little bit dirty? Yeah, they are.
Just a little? That's all? Just a little?
They are. Here's the other thing. Until they start getting caught and called for it, I'm not going to get mad at them for emphasizing a system that has worked for them. And I would say about South Carolina the same thing I've said about everybody else. You want them to stop? Beat them. Show them that way of basketball doesn't work. Do not respond to it. It does not bother me all that much. Was it dirty? Sure. But it's a physical game, man. Like, I think one spot where maybe I get a little bit old mannish. Basketball's a physical game. Stop trying to legislate the physicality out of it.
You can be physical without being dirty. You absolutely can. Little cheap shots, little tugs of the hair, little punches to the face, which there were quite a few during the game. Those are not necessary.
I don't think there were punches to the face.
Dude,
I think there were elbows. I think there were rib shots.
There's a little one of these underneath.
You're going to catch them to the chin. That's when you play basketball with elbows out, you're going to catch them to the face. If you're not ready
with your fist, though,
I don't think you'll have to show me it. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'll have to see it. I didn't see anybody catch fists to the face that wasn't involved in a rebounding procedure. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'll also acknowledge I was watching at a bar with a couple of hundred people. So there were some spots that I was maybe not as tuned in as a good radio dude should have been.
Well, thanks to the phone listening and the government and everything, a bunch of clips are now showing up on my feed. So hopefully it listened well enough to find the thing for me so I don't have to actually do work. I appreciate. Thank you, AI.
Here's the reality. This kind of crap happens all the time. It's a physical game. It is a game that for 40 minutes, you have big folks getting into it with big folks. And every now and then, that's going to boil over. It happens. I promise you, if you take 30 seconds, you're going to find a fight in the men's game from the last week. It happens. And I feel like for some reason, and maybe I'm making assumptions here, and I'm happy to listen to people get at me, but there have been multiple fights on the men's side this year. And I will also acknowledge that this is partially and probably because it is a team that we cover here in the upstate. But there have been multiple fights on the men's side. This is the first basketball fight from this year that somebody has been inclined not just to comment on, but to use words like classless and dirty and yada, yada, yada. It's a physical game. These things happen. It's an emotional game. These games happen. They happen. And I'm just a little taken aback that this is, of the fights that have taken place in basketball this year, this is the one that everybody got up in arms about. It's a fight in the women's game that everybody got up in arms about.
The game was delayed for 20 minutes. I mean, of course you're going to get up in arms about it. And, someone from the crowd jumped in. There were so many things. Both benches being sent to the locker room. I mean, that's a big deal. You don't hear about all those ejections, and then the ESPN announcers thinking that everybody was suspended for the first round of the playoffs or of the tournament rather, and then have to come back and correct that. Cardoso is going to be gone, but still, I mean, there were so many things going on during this game, but the delay alone is worth a lot of people talking. I mean, that was because when the referee gets out a pencil and a pad,
she really did pull out a whole ass notebook.
Yeah, when she's starting to do that, it's going to take a while.
We were all wrapping up at the watering hole of choice. It was the guys that played golf all ended up there. We were all wrapping up, and one of the fellas was getting ready to go, and he went and cashed out his tab because there was a minute 56 or whatever there was left in the game. He's like, I'm gonna go ahead and cash out while all this is happening so I can get out of here when the buzzer goes. And then he comes back to the table with another beer. And I'm like, what are you doing? I thought you were leaving. And he goes, the ref got out a notebook. We're going to be here a minute. And he was right. About 20 minutes. Listen, I'm not saying this is something we should condone. I'm not saying this is something we should all go, oh, yeah, I love it when a WWE match breaks out in my college basketball. I'm not saying it should be condoned. What I'm saying is I don't feel like we need to be lobbing bombs as if this is basketball, man. Like, it's going to get physical. It's going to get heated. Every now and then somebody's going to go off. James just brought up in the chat, what do you think about the trip in Duke v. UNC? Yeah, I saw, outside of people like me making jokes on Twitter, did I see a bunch of people get heated about Kyle Filipowski? Remember how his leg was going to fall off after Wake Forest stormed the court? Remember that? Remember how Filipowski's leg was gonna have to be amputated because a Wake Forest fan touched it? Remember that? Well, that same leg, he was able to, after going to the ground, raise and actively attempt to and succeed in tripping a North Carolina player during live play on the floor after he got taken down. And yet,
so that's what all those Grayson Allen tweets I saw were about. Okay.
Correct. On our show Saturday, Cody Decker said, if you have to pick one to hate more, is it Duke or North Carolina? I said, it's Duke. Respect to all Duke's accomplished. And he said, why? And I said, because Grayson Allen. And he was like that one guy. I said, no, but the Grayson Allen mentality has been very prevalent at Duke. It's always been that way. And on top of that, they've kind of always been allowed to get away with it. And so literally the same night, Filipowski goes down to the deck, sticks a leg up and trips a guy. And it is funny to me that we got all this energy about Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese and Haley Van Lith getting into it. We got all this energy about the scrap taking place between these two teams. And the only thing we're talking about when something like this on the dude sides happen is lulz. Oh, I tripped him. That's funny. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. Was the 20-minute delay kind of a pain? Sure. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't seen this kind of stuff happen at every level of basketball my whole life. It's the game. I'm not saying it's condoned. The fan that entered the court, I don't care if he was the dad or the brother or the veterinarian of the young lady who Camila Cardoso knocked to the ground. Fans don't go on the court. That guy needs to be arrested. That guy needs to be hit with a trespassing charge at the very least. All the other fans who came out of the stands should face the same thing. You let the ladies on the court handle it, just like you let the fellas go. If that would have been the Duke UNC game and they got into it and a fan would have entered the arena, that would have been a real bad decision. You handle it the same way. But outside of that, it was a physical game. It was a game that you had a lot of bumping and shoving underneath. It's going to happen that every now and then it's going to break into something. Maybe it's just me. I don't care. They got after it. They got it out. The players who broke the rule of leaving the bench got ejected. All they had to do was not leave the bench. And you would have had one tech on both teams, one player, probably one player, maybe just Cardoso, who, by the way, she did. You can't do that. Okay, we all agree.
You're right.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. But LSU is like that.
No. Don't make excuses.
No.
You can't do it.
I'm still want to finish saying that LSU is like that little yappy dog that annoys, and then finally you got to do something about it. They were pushing for that the entire time.
Yes.
South Carolina should have been mentally stronger than to bite on it.
Yes.
And Cardoso did, and now she'll be gone for at least, well, probably just the first game
Probably
of the tournament.
game.
Yeah. And it could have been a lot worse. And you don't leave the bench. You don't. I mean, you've learned that from Pee Wee on up in every sport, but still people do in the heat of the moment. I think LSU has a reputation of being this kind of team, a bunch of punks, and that's what they are, and they're going to continue to do that. They can't intimidate South Carolina. They thought they could. They've tried it. It didn't work. South Carolina beat them twice, and if they meet them again in the tournament, they're going to beat them again.
It was.
And what a classless thing to say as far as Mulkey. Well, she wouldn't do that they were fighting like the entire game.
Dude, so it comes down to this. That is what LSU wants to do. They want to aggravate you. They want to get in your head. And what do they want you to do? They want you to run over and shove one of their players to the ground and get your ass booted from the game. They got what they wanted. The only thing was they did the dumb thing with having their whole bench leave too, right? If LSU's players stay on that bench, what happens in that game? LSU, for the last 2 minutes of the game, got a full complement of substitutes. South Carolina's got one. They could have absolutely run them ragged for the last 2 minutes of the game, or tried to, but everybody responded. Was it dumb? Yes. Was it basketball? Also, yes. It's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I'm willing to bet we're probably going to get one fight out of both tournaments at some point too. Because when you have two teams that base their entire game around being physical, being brutish, getting after it, you're going to have this happen. And let's not pretend like, yes, Kim Mulkey's LSU team 100% are all about ribbing you, trying to get you to break. Let's not pretend South Carolina doesn't play a very physical basketball game, especially centered around Camila Cardoso. They absolutely play physical basketball. And when you get physical basketball teams getting after it, you're going to have physical altercations. That's what we got. It's inevitable.
I was disappointed in South Carolina in a couple places where they had a big lead and then their shooting just stopped. I mean, nothing fell. And I don't know why that happens. There was at least 2, maybe 3 lulls in that game. If they didn't have those, they would have ran away with that game.
Because I think one thing that gets lost in the fray here is LSU's a real good basketball team, A. B, let's also point out, LSU was playing a very emotional game because they lost one of their players in the semifinals who had to be bodyboarded out of the game. She hit her head on the back and apparently was unable to move. So they were playing a very emotional game. They had multiple injuries to, I think, 1 starter and 2 reserves. So they were down a platoon. This team LSU was trying to, and good, South Carolina needs to win that game when all those circumstances are in your favor. That's basketball. But to me, Kim Mulkey, you can dislike her as far as a person. She's a damn good basketball coach. She saw that floor and was making little tinker adjustments to LSU's defense to frustrate South Carolina. And then eventually Dawn would counter it. The offense would open back up. That's a good LSU team.
It's a great LSU team, but that's not the point I'm making. There were open shots that weren't dropping, layups missed, that weren't necessarily contested. I'm talking about it seems like some lapses of intensity, I want to say. Basketball
is, you've heard this expression a billion times and a billion times more, it's a game of runs. You're going to have runs where you're hot. You're going to have runs when you're cold. It happens to everybody. The question mark is, can you ensure that your hot runs are enough to offset your cold runs? And for South Carolina, it was back and forth here and there. The good news was they never really got to a point where they allowed LSU to go on a take over the game run. They went on a couple of, it's closer than we'd like it to be runs. But again, I think Dawn Staley, as she did against Tennessee late, was doing a real good job of seeing, okay, Kim Mulkey changed this. She tinkered with that. Here's what we need to do to counter that. That's what a great basketball coach does. It's about motivation and discipline and all those things, and that's all well and good and true. But a great basketball coach sees what's happening on the floor and makes the minor adjustments in time. And both of these two coaches were doing that yesterday. You absolutely had a legendary coaching matchup yesterday, and it went out great. Real quick before we go to a break, here's what Don said about it.
With the highs or low with the lows, it's hard when you're playing. I played this game a long time, and I can't tell you I was a saint at all times. Okay, your emotions get the best of you. It's unfortunate that the players that got ejected can't be a part of the celebration.
Yeah. You're in a high intensity, high emotion game. Sometimes your emotions get the best of you, and I think that has happened to literally every human ever. It happens. And then when your emotions get the best of you in a moment where somebody else has the emotions get the better to them and you are in direct competition / conflict with each other, sometimes those emotions are going to get after each other. If you can handle that every now and then, you're going to catch one, and every now and then you're going to hand one out. Sports aren't for you. Men's, women's, college, pro, high school, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. Should we condone it? No. Should we try to educate players, discipline players, teach them that there are better ways to handle that situation? Yes. But sports are emotion. They are purely driven by emotion. And sometimes players get emotional. And there are players from both teams that are going to get emotional in certain spots. This is going to happen. It's going to happen on the women's side. It's going to happen on the men's side. It's going to happen in the pros. It's going to happen in college. We had the malice at the palace. Now we had, as Michael Stathakis and I workshopped it yesterday, raise hell at the well. It's going to happen. And we're going to talk about it, and we're all going to knee-jerk and overreact and pretend like it was some sin against humanity. It's not. It was a not even fight at a basketball. Not even a fight. Nobody was throwing hammer fists at each other. Nobody was German suplexing anybody to the court. It was not even a fight.
Nobody was knocking Francis Ngannou out.
Oh, poor Francis. Poor Francis. Poor Francis got a little big in the boots, and he paid for it. We're going to talk about that later, too. Better believe it. My name is Rob Brown. That guy over there, that's the great one, Lonzo. We are just 43 minutes into our 4-hour sports talk entertainment extravaganza known as the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I sent you a video of a 57-year-old doing something.
God.
He's just doing. It's a 57-year-old doing something. I don't know.
Dude. And I think the LSU player flopped a little bit, right? Like, I think she flopped a little bit for sure. But that's basketball.
Zach, I didn't see it till Sunday, but yeah, I was pretty excited about that. Yeah.
It's huge to get that out of the way.
Wife was pretty excited too because it's one of her favorite players on the Chiefs team. To fix that. Apologize about the audio thing. Someone thinks it's okay to zero out the entire board, and I didn't catch it. It's on me. Part of that audio wasn't online because zero board again, and I thought I got everything and I didn't. It's akin to sabotage. It is, because it makes no sense.
You know, he says the same thing about you, I'm sure, right? Like, why wasn't the ones that put the board back the way I had it?
There's a matter of who's here first, but each person is in charge of their board. But if you can give me a logical reason why you're going through and taking everything out, I'm okay with it, but you can't. And what that does is causes mistakes. It's happened on both stations. Several different people have made mistakes on the air.
As you across the top?
That's the thing. He's taking everything out of program.
Right, but does he use the same settings as you?
He's using the same bots. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them. They're not using the co-host, which is what messed up. They're not using router 1, which is StreamYard, which cost me some Rashad audio before. It's recognizing that you're going to do more damage taking things out than you are leaving them in, because they're not hurting anything being on, because they're not on unless you turn the pot on and turn it up. So you can look at it as sabotage or purposefully trying to, or just not putting thought into what you're doing. And I got to send some emails out to a couple people today, or I could do the management thing and send it out to everybody, because, that's always fun. I'm not ranting, Steven. I'm explaining.
Jake Paul opens minus 500 to win the fight over Mike Tyson. Tyson is plus 325. So, how confident are y'all that 57-year-old Mike Tyson's going to win the fight?
I'm very confident.
He is an over 3-1 underdog.
I'm very confident.
Well, you can make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, I don't do that, but because I lose when I bet, as we know.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate coming up at 8:40 this morning. John Blau of the Post and Courier will join us. Clemson eating disappointing but not earth-shattering L to a good Wake Forest team. I think a lot of people thought this.
How many losses in a row is this for Clemson?
That was one. They won their last one.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, they must have lost one before that.
They are, I think, through the last 4, and let me pull it up and make sure I have it 100%. Through the last 4, they are 2-2. They won against Pitt. They lost on the road at Notre Dame, forgivable. They dominated Syracuse at home for senior night. Then they went on the road to Wake Forest. They lost by 5, and that's a Wake Forest team that is 19-12, 11-9 in conference. They have the same conference record as Clemson. They're in good shape. They're in good shape. So not particularly worried about it for the Clemson Tiger basketball team. This is, once again, allow me to tell you all, do not hit the panic alarm on Brad Brownell. This is not Brownelling. You're fine. You lost a season alarm.
You said it.
Alarm. Do not hit the panic alarm on Brad Brownell. You lost a game on the road at a very comparable conference foe. And by the way, a Wake Forest team that is considered to be probably off the bubble and in, but one that really needed to secure their spot, and I think they have done it. Brad Brownell's squad secured their spot because their out-of-conference record and success rate was very good. Wake did not have that same advantage. So that was a team playing their way in, and they did it. So, all right, we have got a lot to talk about in this show, including not just Francis Ngannou getting K'd the you-know-what-oh by Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, they should have called it before they let him.
100%.
Yeah, they should have.
Because he had himself a very nice little nap on the canvas in Riyadh. So we'll talk about that. And there's all these folks that have been showing me all these videos about how good he's 57 years old. Mike Tyson is, because he's shadow boxing and throwing big punches, which is fine. The odds are out. Jake Paul's minus 500 to win this fight. Do you know why? Jake Paul is a 5-1 favorite to win. Favorite, not underdog. Favorite to win the fight. It's because Mike Tyson is 57 years old.
So you're saying that Jake Paul's a better boxer than Mike Tyson?
I'm saying he's 57 years old. Listen.
All right, so Vegas is saying that Jake Paul's a better boxer than Mike Tyson.
No, they're saying Mike Tyson's 57.
I don't think they say that.
If
in the
Mike
thing.
Tyson was up against a 28-year-old prime top 5 guy, the boxer would be minus 1,000.
Is Jake Paul not also sponsored by Prime?
Oh my God, you're the worst person. You're the worst person. Also, I swear to you, if that center logo sponsorship is real, I'm going to lose my mind.
Why?
I'm going to lose my mind.
Why?
Because 100 years of a clean mat, and we're going to ruin it for Logan Paul. You know better than that. Now you're just being a troll, and I'm on to you, sir.
I think it's just a matter of time before that sort of thing becomes. There are already sponsors all over everything else, just not in a wrestling ring.
Me and Gunther are furious.
Yeah, well,
the sacred mat, we're furious. All right.
It was a projection, by the way. It wasn't an actual. They pulled the thing away. They did. You're right. They pulled the thing away.
Infuriating.
Yeah. What a great troll he is. Because it bothers you, I hope they did buy the sponsorship.
I know you do.
Because
thank you.
Go ahead and say it. Say you're moving to Canada and you'll never watch wrestling again.
Going to Costa Rica. The weather's better. All right. Texas said, I don't understand why number 4 for LSU wasn't ejected. She swung during the deal. Texas said it was basically a home game for USC also. Oh, for sure. Listen, LSU was 100. Now, there were a good, healthy amount of LSU fans there.
Including brothers who decided to storm the court.
Yeah, that was real dumb. Real dumb. Texture said, to follow up on my earlier text, I agree. Part of the blame on the officiating crew. I am an official. We are taught what we permit, we promote. Listen, there's a lot that the officials could have called leading up to that point, but there's also the other element of when you get to the point that you start calling ticky-tack stuff. Listen, if somebody's got a handful of hair, you got to make a call. I don't disagree. But when you start calling elbows and shoving underneath the rim and you start calling it both ways, you're going to end up in a spot where you're going to kill the pacing of the game and you're going to take any flow out of it. And for what?
Obviously,
it's basketball.
This is ESPN's fault, and they told the referees that they wanted more entertaining. And because they've already influenced football, they thought they would influence this too, and said, "Hey, just back off of the calls and everything. Just do that." So,
you're working overtime today. You're 53 minutes in, and you're working overtime.
Let's blame ESPN for this.
You're working overtime today, man.
I'm going on vacation next week.
That's right.
I was trying to get it all out now.
Yeah, I got it.
And I didn't sleep much. I'm going to burn out by like a half hour into next hour. So you're good.
You'll hang with me till 7:30. Zoe's going to take a nap, and then. All right. 1 hour in the books. When we come back in the next hour of the show, we open with your water cooler cheat sheet. Top 3 sports stories you need to know, including a wild day for the quarterback markets yesterday. Baker got a contract. Russell's going to have a contract on Wednesday, and I'm going to have a free lunch.
Not yet.
A lot going on in the world of quarterback markets. How does this impact the Atlanta Falcons. Predominantly, we're going to talk about that. We have got a lot going on in the NBA. Anthony Davis putting up a historic stat line last night. We're going to get into where the NBA stands, and Ross Dellinger put out a big article about the future of college football, and there were 2 or 3 points that jumped off the page at me that I want to get to. All that coming up in the next hour. But before we do any of that, let's see if Lonzo can get through the sports flash without trolling us all.
Yeah, like you don't put things in here to try to make me stumble. After a massive overtime win Saturday, the Paladins' bid for a Southern Conference title came to an end with an 84-77 defeat at the hands of the Sanford Bulldogs. J.P. Pegues had 22 and Carter Witt had 20 off the bench, but the Paladins shot just 34% and 28% from three. Evan Lee, Zion Scarlett, and Leo Castro all netted goals as the Greenville Triumph began the Rick Wright era with a 3-1 win over Spokane Velocity after a PK goal gave Spokane the early lead. Scarlett netted his first professional goal to go level. I guess that means even, I don't know, it's soccer terminology. Lee's rebound goal came just after halftime, and a backheel wonder goal from Castro at the hour mark finished the scoring. And this is where I go, goal! Right here on the Fan, upstate.
I need you to lean into that goal more.
No, I realize without a sporting event coming up, this is the first time since we started doing this that I don't have my normal tagline out. And so now I've got to write something that's a tagline out every time. So, and I didn't realize that till that moment.
Yep.
And it's like, ooh, I don't really have anything. I got to fix that. Because we've either had a football game or a basketball game, and now we're done. So. By the way, this is the last thing I'll say about this, but for 10 years the station's been around, the board has been a certain way, and then suddenly someone decides to do something like that, it makes it look like it's on purpose. And he's been here for a good portion of that, 10 years. So I really don't believe there are bad intentions. I just don't think there's enough thought being put into it. It's one thing to do the thing on the walls and everything. It's something totally different to do something that messes with the product on the air, which is what we can get in trouble about.
We are going to talk about Baker Mayfield here in just a minute. 3 years, $100 million, 30 guaranteed this year and next year. The rest spread out among salary and bonuses.
He earned his spot. I mean, he played really well last year.
That's true.
Could he have played better? Yes, but so could every quarterback last year. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say that. Well, actually, no, actually I am. I'm disrespecting all quarterbacks, which would include Patrick Mahomes. Hopefully he takes it personal and wins another Super Bowl. And gives me what for by winning another Super Bowl.
Gives you what for?
Yeah. There you go. Take that, you.
And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we reach hour number 2 of the Rob Brown radio program right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown and the Great Lonzo with you this fine Monday morning and every weekday morning from 6 to 10 a.m. Available on 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and for free around the world on the Odyssey app or at thefanupstate.com.
Wait. I can listen to this show for free all around the world.
All around the world. We make it easy for you. Plus, you can join us.
Even you, Belarus. If you want to listen, go ahead. I'm sorry, music.
I don't think the people of Belarus can listen anymore. I think they have taken us away from the Belarusian people. And frankly, I hate it. If there's a revolution in Belarus in the next couple of weeks, just know it's about the loss of the Rob Brown Show across that great nation.
All right, never mind Belarus.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
I like it. That's never going to stop being an incredible thing to drop on somebody. It's just not. All right. Let's get into hour number 2 here on the radio broadcast. Sorry, I got NASCAR highlights playing over here. Good race yesterday.
It sounded like the mic boom was going down.
I do need to get
that's what I thought that was. I didn't know it was NASCAR, so you could have gotten away with that.
It is 7:02 in the morning. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that coming up ever so shortly, you, my dearest friends, are going to have to get to the office, and it's an hour earlier than you're used to. Unfortunately,
it's dark out there. It's really, really dark out there.
It is like it's 7:02 in the. Anyway, point here is when you get to the office and you have to go to work, you're going to send out those emails. You're going to, do whatever project you got to make sure you've got done so the boss doesn't hound you today. Whatever you got to do, you're going to eventually reach the time for that first break. And when you get to that first break, if you're anything like us, and we know you are, you're going to want to talk sports with your coworkers. And if you're going to talk sports with your coworkers, you, friends, are going to need this.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Perhaps the most apropos fart cover-up sound that Lonzo has in the repertoire. It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your coworkers. Let us dive immediately into item number 1. The league new year in the National Football League is Wednesday. That day is the day that guys who are not on a contract anymore will officially become free agents. That is a day in which you will see a lot of releases. That is the day you will see a lot of signings. But at one position, especially yesterday, maybe the biggest day of the year, that, of course, at the quarterback spot. Multiple moves being made around the National Football League yesterday at the QB spot. We start with one that may or may not be consequential. We will find out. Mac Jones is on his way from New England down to Jacksonville. The Jaguars sent a 6th-round pick up to New England in return for Mac Jones, thus ending the experiment centered around the former Alabama first-rounder. They have given up on Mac Jones. And, of course, this has impact on the Atlanta Falcons. Why? Because it makes it that much more likely, or at least it would seem so if you're, I don't know, me. It would make it seem that much more likely that New England is going to take a quarterback at that number 3 spot. Whoever is left of the big 3, it looks like that would be the pick that's going to be made by New England. Now, there is still very much the chance that they decide to trade back. I think there is the possibility that they wait to see what Chicago is going to do with Justin Fields, as we do not yet have any indication there.
You know, really quick, if you were going to be anti-Bill Belichick, you make the pick at 3, don't you? Just to show that you've moved on and that you're doing things differently now.
If I am Gerard Mayo, the new head coach of the New England Patriots, and this is just me, I am doing nothing based on sending some message about how we're not Hoodie's team anymore. I'm doing whatever I can to succeed. You were named the successor like 48 hours after Belichick got let loose. There were entire shows wrapped around trying to project and prognosticate what the Patriots were going to do after Bill Belichick stepped away from the program. They had Gerard Mayo in place. They knew weeks ago what they were going to do at that position after they had Bill Belichick step away. They got a plan. Question mark at this point is only, is there a guy that they specifically want? Is there a guy out of the big 3 that they want? Part of the reason I think they wait around to see what Chicago does would be if they have a guy. If they think Jaden Daniels is the guy that I think unjustifiably is going to be drafted 3rd out of the big 3. If they think Jaden Daniels can be the dude at the next level, as I do, then they may just hold tight there. But if they wanted, say, a Drake May, and he's going to be unavailable at 3, they may be willing to trade back. The only question is, do they get away from their traditionally, and by traditionally, I mean Tom Brady's career and then Mac Jones, do they get away from their traditionally pocket passer style quarterback and open up to the possibility of drafting a guy who kind of goes against that mold a little bit? Do they possibly move over and go, we accept a quarterback who is a dual threat quarterback like a Jaden Daniels, like a Michael Penix Jr.? Jaden Daniels is going to be available at 3. That might be the guy. If they want to go pocket passer, then Drake May might be available at 3. If not, they may trade back mid-round and go get J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr. We'll see what happens. Either way, it does have an impact on Atlanta. More quarterback news out of the National Football League, because he wasn't the only one that got a deal yesterday. Baker Mayfield has agreed to a new contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a 3-year, $100 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. Mayfield set to make $30 million guaranteed this season, $30 million with $20 million guaranteed next season in 2025, and in 2026, $40 million. There is also $5 million per year in incentives, meaning if he hits all his marks, the max value of the contract is $115 million. And there is now only one question, and it is a question that matters to Tampa, but it's also a question that matters to the Carolina Panthers. And that question is, who do we attribute the success last year of Baker Mayfield to? Do we attribute it to Baker Mayfield finally being inside of a football team that, even if they're not quite what they may have been made out to be by winning the division last year, that was actually a stable franchise for the first time, maybe in Baker's entire career? Or do we attribute the resurgence of one Baker Mayfield to Carolina's new head coach, Dave Canales, who is, of course, the offensive coordinator last year in Tampa, a guy who has had 3 consecutive quarterbacks that have had a bit of a renaissance in his offense? If the answer is the former, this is a fantastic signing by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the answer is the latter, and Dave Canales is absolutely the guy who deserves the credit, as I think he's going to be proven to be, then this is going to be an awful signing for Tampa Bay. And more importantly, it is going to show that the hiring of Dave Canales in Carolina was a good one. Not the only quarterback who made moves yesterday. Why? Because while he does have to wait until Wednesday, when the new league year rolls over, Russell Wilson is expected to sign a 1-year veteran minimum $1.2 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I told you last week when it was announced that the Denver Broncos were going to cut ties with Russell Wilson, that there was a 0.000% chance that Russ Wilson was not on a team by the draft. The reason why was, for me, because of the way the contract was structured. Russell Wilson is going to make money from the Denver Broncos this year. Does anybody know how much money? I do. $38 million. Russell Wilson is going to be paid more this year by the Denver Broncos than about 20 quarterbacks will by the team they're actually quarterbacking for. That is why. Because Russell Wilson comes with an incredibly team-friendly setup for whoever signs him. $38 million coming from Denver, meaning I thought from the beginning, in fact, I said on this microphone, somebody's going to sign Russell Wilson for a veteran minimum contract because Russell is going to use this year to prove himself. That his I want 2 more rings take was one he actually believes and, more importantly, is capable of accomplishing. And then he'll sign his $100 million contract elsewhere. If this all goes through, he will be a Pittsburgh Steeler on Wednesday. He will do it for a $1.2 million check. The rest of the $37.8 million salary will come for the Denver Broncos, and Russ will be starting over Kenny Baby Hands Pickett next year.
All right, he hasn't signed yet, by the way. But
Wednesday.
if he's going to win 2 more rings, is he going to do it with Pittsburgh?
Maybe. We're going to pretend like Pittsburgh didn't make the playoffs last year.
Joe Burrow coming back. Cleveland, Baltimore. I mean, if you're going to pick a division, I would have thought the NFC South would. Well, I mean, no, if you're going to pick a division, you don't go there. I mean, because of the competition. And he already left the AFC West to go to technically a more competitive conference.
It is not technically more competitive. It is definitively more competitive. That division's going to be good next year. Jerry Jeudy, by the way, former Denver Bronco, now a Cleveland Brown. Now, there's a lot of question marks about whether Jerry Jeudy actually has it in him to be the guy that can be the one that they were looking for. But like I said, let's not pretend Pittsburgh didn't make the playoffs with Kenny Pickett. Can Russell Wilson outperform Kenny Pickett? The answer is yes.
All right.
He did, literally last year.
It's a wait and see for me.
He just did it.
It's a wait and see for me.
I don't know how. I don't know how you look at what Russell did. What Russell did last
year.
Been
overrated his entire career, and we'll see. And his ego took a major hit. And his ego seems to be a thing that he is driven by quite a bit, having his own office and all that kind of. That's an ego thing. So his ego taking the hit that it did, will he be able to recover from that?
We're gonna find out. I'm gonna tell you right now. I actually like this.
He also got benched. Keep that in mind.
Yes, but again, the benching had to do.
I know it has to do with money.
With money,
but also a benching. What does that mess with? It messes with your ego.
I think it does, unless you go, yeah, they benched me for the money. They benched me because I was on pace to hit every incentive they wanted me to hit to guarantee me a whole lot more money, and so they had to come up with a reason to send me to the bench last year so they didn't have to pay me. It's not on me. I'm fine. I'm good. That's all this is. So Russell Wilson will apparently end up signing a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers on Wednesday for $1.2 million. So there's your three moves from yesterday. Does that solidify Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons? In my mind, the answer is yes, but we will talk about that more in depth coming later on in the show. But we continue with the water cooler cheat sheet. Let's get to item number 2. South Carolina 79-72 winners over the LSU Tigers yesterday in the SEC Women's Basketball Conference Championship. They were led by 12 points from Pow Pow. She had a 4 of 11 from the field, 2 of 7 day, 24 off the bench as well for Fulwiley. It was a great game until it broke down. Honestly, it was a pair of teams that were battling. There was a lot of let's say, extracurricular activity taking place underneath the basket. It was, to me, it was as good of a conference championship game as I could have asked for. It was two teams that were absolutely getting after it yesterday. And when it came down to it, you can argue a bunch of different reasons why. As I said earlier in the show, I thought that this was an LSU team that was playing a very emotional game. They had one of their players have to be carried off the court on a bodyboard the night before. This was an emotional game for LSU. They were lacking depth that they usually have. On the flip side, South Carolina, after a walk-off three, the first career three from Camila Cardoso could not have come at a better time. She hits the walk-off, buzzer-beating, game-winning three in the semi against Tennessee. After the game before that, Dawn Staley said, if we play like we played in the quarterfinals, we won't win another game. They risked it against Tennessee. Cardoso knocks down the game-winning three. They come into the last game, and there was very clearly, at least to me, a mental shift in that Gamecock basketball team. In that last game, they allowed LSU to get into their heads late. I understand. I don't even disagree with you. Those of you that are texting the show going LSU was playing dirty basketball, like sure, maybe. But if they're not getting called for it, you got to figure out how to play through and over that. And they did. So your Southeastern Conference champions are your undefeated 32-0, 16-0 in conference South Carolina Gamecocks. We talked a little bit back in the last hour about the kerfluffle at the end of that game. If you missed it, go back to thefanupstate.com, drop down the podcast button, and listen to the last hour of the show. You'll get our thoughts on all of that. Let us get now to item number 3. It's exceptionally rare that a single NBA game ends up making the water cooler cheat sheet. An individual standalone game. Usually when it does, it means somebody in the National Basketball Association did something historic. And that is indeed the case here. Anthony Davis, 27 points, 25 rebounds, 7 steals, 5 assists. It is the first time in the history of the NBA that someone has put up a 25-25-5-5 stat line. It has never happened before. And the Lakers did it in a 120-109 win over the Timberwolves. Now, the Timberwolves are obviously without Karl Anthony Towns. He's got a busted meniscus. He's going to be missing some time, at least up to the playoffs, maybe through the first round of the playoffs. They are not the same team, these Minnesota Timberwolves, but it was still a great win for the Lake Show. Anthony Davis said after knocking down the historic scoreline, quote, "I think we're hitting our stride right now. We're just trying to keep going, keep pushing, knowing that just like last year, all we got to do is get in. I feel like it's tough for anybody to beat us in a 7-game series. We like our chances against anybody at that point." Anthony Davis entered the game listed as questionable with left shoulder soreness after a collision on Friday with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Lakers medical staff wrapped his shoulder with a heat pack when he was subbed out of the game on the bench. But at that point, he had already put up that line. The Timberwolves were also missing Rudy Gobert, who was suffering with a hamstring / he's been involved in a lot of drama the last couple of days issue. Taurean Prince of the Lakers said Davis's performance was, quote, Hall of Fame caliber, end quote. Davis is the first player with a 25-25-5-5 line in a game since steals became an official stat back in 1973. It was such a great game for Davis that LeBron James returning from a sore left ankle to put up 29 on 10 of 16 with 9 and 8 to complement it. Not even been talked about. That's what they need. This team has got to transition away from LeBron carries.
But Rob, is he even going to show up for the next game? This is his MO. He'll have a great game like this, and then the next 2 or 3 games, Anthony Davis is no longer a factor. Like, he gets really tired.
For the record, no one's ever had a great game like this. It is an unprecedented stat line. That being said,
so you're saying he's going to be out extra days after this? Is that what you're saying?
I think if you're watching this Lakers team, to me, the narrative around Anthony Davis is dying a slow death this year. That has not been the case this year.
Good.
This dude has shown up.
Good.
And even in spots where Bron hasn't been there, AD has. And he's opening the floor. He's playing so well that you got guys like D'Lo Russell the other night on Friday putting up 44 in a game winner while AD's still getting his 25 and, 15 boards a night. The narrative about Anthony Davis, and trust me, there will always be a sour spot in my heart for Anthony Davis. Guys balling. Guys playing, and all of a sudden, again, I have made the mistake once already of going, there it is, they've arrived, as the Warriors are now one game closer back to 500 at 33-30. We'll do that again. Anthony Davis got this team playing well. They are still in the 9 spot. They are 1 full game back of Dallas, a game and a half back of Sacramento, 2 games back of Phoenix, and 4 games back of the 5 seed in the West. You're my hour. New Orleans Pelicans, who are kind of balling out. Man. I kind of love it. All right, so there's your water cooler cheat sheet. The top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your coworkers. Let's take a break. When we come back, we got to talk a little bit about the National Football League. All of these quarterback moves yesterday. Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones. They told us some stuff. They told us some stuff about the Atlanta Falcons. They told us some stuff about the Carolina Panthers, or at least they raised questions, which I will ask and then promptly answer, because that's how sports radio works. When we come back, I am Rob Brown, the great Milan's on the 1s and 2s. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is, ladies and gentlemen, the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live read, and we're right back. Y'all stay right there, please, and thank you. the National Football League. We had a couple of deals get made yesterday that must be addressed. We had, of course, Baker Mayfield sign a 3-year, $100 million deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That deal is going to have a lot of guaranteed money attached to it. And we had Russell Wilson, who has agreed to terms in principle with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to make a return to that team. Of course, They re-signed Mike Evans the other day, so he will get one of his bigger weapons back. That is a massive deal for Tampa. Massive deal for Baker Mayfield, too. So I asked the question earlier, is this something that we chalk up the resurgence, the rejuvenation of the career of Baker Mayfield to Baker Mayfield, or is this something that we chalk up to Dave Canellis? And I think it is a very fair and interesting question to ask this morning. I think it's one that we need to take some time and delve into. We have mentioned countless times that Dave Canellis has had success in a couple of different places with a couple of different quarterbacks. He had success, of course, with Geno Smith. He had success, of course, with Russell Wilson, both quarterbacks who have had a little bit of success after they split with Dave Canellis. Then, of course, we have, as we just mentioned, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay had himself a heck of a season last year alongside that wide receiver crew that Tampa Bay was able to successfully put together. So I do think it is more than apropos to ask the question now, was that Dave Canellis? Was that Baker Mayfield? And the answer to me was, I think a little bit of both. And I don't know if that's fence sitting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why isn't it just a little bit of both? I just want to say, Baker, good on you.
Good on Baker.
Doing what you needed to do to get paid, and the fact that someone believes in you, a team believes in you.
I mean, me and Lonzo believed in Baker the whole time.
We did. We absolutely did. And we're not going to know about the Canellis thing till the end of next season.
I mean, honestly, I think we'll know in season. It might be a handful of weeks in. It's also going to depend on how the roster construction goes.
There's going to be some adjustment with new coaches and stuff for the first few games, possibly.
Without a doubt. So I don't think it is fence sitting, as I have been accused of doing sometimes, to say I think it's a little bit of both. I will start with, I don't think that either one of us so far have been able to really put into words how big of a deal the instability around Baker Mayfield at both of his previous teams really is. I think we can all now, not just me and Lonzo, I think every football fan should be able to now look back at the Browns and go, what a bat you-know-what organization that's turned out to be. That team is now in a spot with the addition of Jerry Jeudy this weekend. I looked up and down the talent roster of the Cleveland Browns, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, leeching on to the Cleveland Browns because I know most of us don't care. But listen to the skill set. Nick Chubb at the wide receiver, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore across the first three receivers, David Njoku at the tight end spot, a very good offensive line. Do you know where it looks like the Browns are going to be hampered in a tough division next year? The quarterback they're paying $500 million to. Really, think about that. They went all in on the largest guaranteed contract in the history of the National Football League to Deshaun Watson, and there's a better than zero chance that Deshaun Watson is the reason that this team stinks next year. How hysterically ironic is that, right? This Browns organization is without a doubt a joke. And because it is a joke, they now find themselves in a spot where I feel like we can, with cause evidence, successfully put the misgivings of this team on the team, not on Baker Mayfield. So then he goes to Carolina, where he plays with Mr. OOU, one of us, Matt Rule, as his head coach. Is anybody looking back at the tenure of Matt Rule and thinking it was in any way, shape, or form successful? I don't think so. So now I can argue that when it came to Baker Mayfield,
I don't know. You could look at Matt Rule and say it was more successful than the last.
Than Frank
coach.
Reich,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean,
but it also was a part of the reason that struggle bus rolled through so hard through Charlotte was because of Matt Rule. It was because of the fact that Matt Rule left that program in tatters, in shatters, whatever that word is. I don't care. So I think now at this point, I am relatively comfortable looking back and going, yeah, well, it wasn't really on Baker, was it? It wasn't really on Baker. So he goes to Tampa Bay. He's in a much, much more stable and productive environment. And because he is, Baker Mayfield flourishes last year to the tune of earning a $100 million contract. But then there's Dave Canellis. He did it with Russell Wilson. He shows up in Seattle. Russell's last year in Seattle. Russell Wilson plays well enough that the Denver Broncos decided to go all in, and it wasn't a ridiculous move to do so. At least to me, it wasn't. It wasn't a ridiculous move to do so. Then Dave Canellis goes to Geno Smith. Geno Smith becomes your NFL Comeback Player of the Year award winner under Dave Canellis. Then Dave Canellis ends up in Tampa, and when he gets to Tampa, Baker Mayfield has a earn $100 million contract season under Dave Canellis. I think I am going to lean on exactly what the great one just said. That is to say, I think both of those cats deserve a little bit of credit for the contract that Russell Wilson that Baker Mayfield just earned. It's absolutely a little bit of both. That's good enough for me for right now. It's good enough for me for right now. It's good enough for me with the thought that the belief that Dave Canellis had something to do with Baker Mayfield making this money is all I need. It's all I need to, and maybe I'm gonna regret this, but it's all I need to instill a little hope that he shows up and he understands those are three different quarterbacks. Play a similar style of ball, but they're three different quarterbacks with three different skill set abilities and talent levels. He succeeded with all of them. Why not Bryce? That's it, right? And I think that's kind of going to be the mantra of this team coming into this year under Dave Canellis. Why not Bryce? So we'll see where that goes. But the NFC South's only impact is not limited to Carolina with Bate getting this contract because of his performance under Dave Canellis. The other aspect of this is the Atlanta Falcons. We have mentioned time and time again on this show. To me, there are a couple of big dominoes left to fall. Chicago's plan with Justin Fields is probably the biggest one. Are they going to maintain Justin Fields? Are they going to draft a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick? And if they are not going to stick with Justin Fields, where's that guy end up at? Now, that was the big question until another guy has joined Justin Fields center stage of the offseason quarterback circus. That's Kirk Cousins. Because as much as we need to know what Chicago's plan is with Justin Fields, the other big question is, what's Minnesota's plan with Kirk Cousins? The fact that Kirk Cousins does not have a deal on the table right now with 2 days left until the NFL's new year rolls over very much leads me to believe that the Minnesota Vikings are ready to move on from Kirk Cousins. They don't think he's the long-term answer. Now, I have said that I would be willing to accept Kirk Cousins as a short-term answer in Atlanta. By short-term, I mean they get a quarterback this year. I think they win the NFC South. I'm willing to accept him in short term. I think Kirk Cousins is the short-term answer no matter where he ends up at. Kirk Cousins is 35 years old. He will be 36 going into the season. I need 1 year. I can live with Kirk Cousins. I need multiple years. I can't. And here's the thing. The Vikings are in a spot with Jordan Jefferson and co. that their window's now. Their window's now. You're going to have a rookie in Chicago, more than likely. Jordan Love looked much better in Green Bay. Defensively, that team leaves a little bit to be desired. So if the Vikings are going to strike in the NFC North, next year's the year to do it, but they have opened a window of another 3 or 4 years to be competitive. I can't trust Kirk Cousins all the way till 40. So I think they move on, and I think in moving on, that opens the door for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. And again, we got that report last week that Kirk is considering moving his family to the Dirty Dirty. There's only one reason he would move to Atlanta, in my opinion. Again, I don't know Kirk Cousins personally. Kirk doesn't seem like the guy, and maybe I'm wrong here. Kirk Cousins doesn't strike me as the guy who's moving to Atlanta for its vibrant music scene. So Kirk's going to be in Atlanta next year. That's the only conclusion that I can draw. And that is good enough for Atlanta to win the NFC South this upcoming year.
Who has a better season, Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson? If Cousins ends up in Atlanta.
I will say Kirk Cousins, but it's because of the division. I think Russell Wilson's about to play in maybe the most difficult division in the NFL, and I think Kirk Cousins is about to play in the easiest. Now, we're talking about 6 games, right? We're talking about 6 out of 17 games, 6 games where he gets Tampa Bay, Carolina, and New Orleans. I don't think Tampa Bay has done anything to get better. Has Tampa Bay done anything to get better? I can't think of any moves they made to get better. Sign Baker Mayfield to $100 million.
What they did last year won the South. So
it did, but again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Tampa Bay was a 14-win team. They weren't. Tampa Bay won the division with a 9-8 record last year. 9-8 would have been good for third in the NFC East. It would have been good for a tie for third in the NFC West. It'd have been good for a tie for second in the North. Over in the AFC, it'd have been third in the AFC East. It would have been second in the West. It would have been fourth, dead last in the AFC North, which is the division that Russell Wilson's going to play in. And it would have been second in the AFC South, which was also a dumpster fire of a division last year. So it's 6 games, but honestly, dude, 10 wins might win you that division again next year. New Orleans is not getting better. They're not adding anything to get better. They're they're just restructuring everybody right now. And oh, by the way, Michael Thomas is a free agent on Wednesday. The Saints did not get better. Oh, and by the way, Dennis Allen, emphasis on his initials, DA, is still the head coach there. Even if Carolina could win 100% more games next year than they won this year, they win 4. If they win 200% more games than they won last year, they're a 6-11 ball club. 200% better, they're 6-11. So they're not a threat yet, with all due respect to the Panthers. You're a couple of years away still. Even if every hire and signing you've made this offseason turns out to be the correct decision, if every one of them, you're still 2 years out. And then again, I think Tampa's probably another 9-8 team this year. At best, by the way, because while they did sign Baker, and while they've been relatively consistent and not much has changed, everybody is a year older at this point. Evans and Godwin are very good, but let's not pretend they're getting younger. I don't think Tampa did anything to improve. Atlanta can win the division behind Kirk Cousins next year. I don't think it is necessarily going to create a situation where Atlanta is Super Bowl ready. But as Anthony Davis said in a quote I read you in that last segment, all you got to do is get in and then get hot. But with these quarterback moves, here's what I'm convinced of. I am convinced of, number one, Dave Canales was the right hire for the situation Carolina's in right now. Number two, Kirk Cousins is going to be an Atlanta Falcon next year. I don't think there's any way around it at this point. Unless Atlanta's going to be the team that jumps up into the Justin Fields sweepstakes to get him out of Chicago. But as we mentioned, even if the price for that trade has come down, and I think it has, it's still going to be a lot more that you have to give up to sign Justin Fields to a contract that will be similar to Kirk Cousins, plus all the draft picks you got to give up to go get him. I think Kirk Cousins is just the logical choice of investment and return on investment that Atlanta can make. I also think Kirk Cousins is good enough to win him that win Atlanta that division next year. All right, we got a bunch more stuff we need to get into. We got some boxing coming up later on in the show. Mike Tyson's 57 years old. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. We'll talk about that, as well as the Francis Ngannou loss to Anthony Joshua. We'll talk a little soccer. U.S. women's national team win the first ever CONCACAF W Gold Cup with a 1-0 victory over Brazil. Lonzo did a wonderful job reading that in the Sports Flash. Yes, though, going level means a tie, means you're equal in points.
So weird. So weird. Just, I mean,
the scores are level. They're both at 1. That's level.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm just not going to read it again.
You can't. You don't hold the sports talk that the people want back from them because you don't like the word level. Don't hold out from the people, great one.
I don't feel genuine using something that I don't. It just doesn't sound right, me saying it.
Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Also, because I don't know the terminology, you could be, I could be saying something inaccurate, and you know.
You think I would have the audacity to do that on our own show?
Yeah, to mess with me, I absolutely do.
I would never.
I expect it, and yeah.
All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. We'll be right back. James Bond style.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, and top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Thanks for calling the summit. This is Gabby. Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m. Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow plaid pajamas. Just not sure. 24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitation applies. Learn more at discover.com/.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need.
You know, Stephen, I could have some sort of conversion and become a huge soccer fan. I'm still not talking that way.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, the
Can we please stop pretending that snow games are good and super fun times? Kansas City, Missouri, an article written by the Associated Press. Some of the people who attended the near-record cold Kansas City Chiefs a playoff game in January had to undergo amputations after suffering frostbite, according to a Missouri hospital. Research Medical Center did not provide exact numbers, but said in a statement that it treated dozens of people who had experienced frostbite during an 11-day cold snap in January. 12 of those people, including some who were at the January 13th game, had to undergo amputations involving mostly fingers and toes. And the hospital said more surgeries are expected over the next 2 to 4 weeks as, quote, injuries evolve, end quote. The University of Kansas Hospital said it also treated frostbite victims after the game. They did not report any amputations. The temperatures for the Dolphins-Chiefs wildcard playoff game was -4, and wind gusts made for a wind chill of -27 degrees. That shattered the record for coldest game in Arrowhead Stadium history, which was set in at 1 degree, a single degree. Set in 1983 against Denver. It matched a 2016 home game against Tennessee. The wildcard game was played the same day the Buffalo Bills were supposed to host the Pittsburgh Steelers, but that game was pushed back today due to a blizzard that dumped 2 feet of snow on New York and made traveling into the game too dangerous to state authorities. Can we stop? Can we stop pretending this is a good thing? If it is so cold that fans are having fingers and toes lopped off due to frostbite, then don't tell me that you're getting the best out of the football players out there, because they are wearing, and this is true, dramatically less clothing than any fan in the stands.
Okay, so what you're saying is that several players from both teams had to have digits amputated.
No, what I'm saying is you have to go to extreme lengths on the sideline to keep the players from having to get amputations. You have to provide a ton of equipment.
Would you have went to that game?
No, I would not have. And I can say this with the sincerity of 10,000 men ready to go to war. I don't care if they tomorrow were like, yo, we feel bad for the no call against the Saints. So next year they get an auto bid to the Super Bowl to make up for it.
Squeeze that in there. Yeah.
An auto bid to the Super Bowl to make up for the no call. And in that auto bid, we're also going to play the Super Bowl in Kansas City, and it's going to be -4 degrees. I will watch it from my very well heated couch.
This is going to be shocking for people who have listened to the station since its inception, since I've been here forever. From the beginning, I'm a Kansas City fan. I know you probably didn't know that.
What?
Yeah, and I would not have gone to that game.
No.
Yeah. But in the end, it's on those fans. It's not on Kansas City. It's not on football. You can blame Mother Nature, I guess, to a degree, but it's on those fans for making that decision.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
no, it's not.
Yeah, it is. Don't go to the game if it's that cold. I mean, just don't go.
Or
And you know what? No one would chastise
out.
you if you didn't
Hear
go.
me out. This conversation is not about the fans. The point here is it is
It is about the
frostbite,
fans.
lose a finger cold, but you're telling me we're getting the best out of these football teams. It is lose your hands cold, but we're getting the best out of these football teams. No, we're not. No, we're not.
So, Rob, at what degree can you get frostbite?
I don't know, but I know at least at -4. I know that for a fact now. No, absolutely not. What are we doing? You are not getting for the record, I don't care about the fans in this conversation. It's not about the fans. What it is about is it is amputate your fingers cold, and you're trying to convince me it's good to play football in that. No, it's not.
You are trying to use poor judgment by some people as a reason to stop games as was intended from the beginning.
Football players are in the same temperature. It's not
Yeah,
warmer on the field.
It is warmer on the
It's
field.
not.
A lot of these fields are heated and the sidelines are heated. It is warmer on the field.
No, it's not. You want to know how I know? I've been on an NFL field in a freezing
You
temperature.
know what else makes it warmer? Friction. And there's friction going on in a football game.
The struggles, the mental gymnastics that some of you go through to try to convince me that a -4-degree game is a good thing are astonishing.
If aliens were to come down right now and sit in that chair over there, they're going to look at one person really distraught and their cheeks getting all red and frustrated about snow, and someone else is sitting over at calm.
If the aliens came down, they'd be like, wait a minute, why are you playing your outside games in a temperature that makes you lose digits? That seems real counterintuitive, humans.
Chances are the Grays are probably cold-blooded, and
which is worse for them, so they would even more go, this is a stupid idea. But we're not cold-blooded. We're warm-blooded, which means that 4 degrees and a -21 wind chill is bad. It is deadly bad for you, and you think you're getting the best Chiefs-Dolphins game you can get. No.
Something totally aside here. I've got to ask a question. Totally aside. It has nothing to do with anything. How many monsters have you had this morning?
Not even a full one yet. That's how much this messes me off. That's how much.
I don't even know if I should have pushed the button on that because I don't know what that word was you just said.
Texas said, I usually support you 100%, Rob, but football is made to be played outside. I support Lonzo with this. If you don't like it, don't watch. Fine. Then stop playing games in August, September, and let's play them December through March. No, this is not an argument. It's made to be played. No, it's not. It's made to be played on a football field. If it was made to be played outside, you would bring this intensity against domed stadiums. And you go, no, the Saints and the Vikings and all these teams, they're all a bunch of for playing inside. No, but you don't do that, do you? You don't do that because football's not made to be played outside. It's just a game that is adapted to be played outside. And oh, by the way, this might shock you. You can play football inside just like you can play basketball outside. It's still the sport. Do we send basketball players in January and have them go play on an outside court when it's cold and go, you're a bunch of you-know-whats if you don't play? No, we don't do that because it's dumb. Because the best way to get the best basketball is to play it inside. Dome every NFL stadium and don't try to for a second tell me that the best athletes in the world can be the best athletes in the world in the same temperature where fans are losing fingers. Dome the stadiums and give us the best football we can get. This is silly. And by the way, stop hitting me. The fans made a bad decision. I agree. I would never go to a game in 4 degrees. I don't like football that much, okay? I will commit the first sin of sports fans. I don't love football enough to sit in 4-degree weather for my team or anybody else's. I don't care at all. I'll sit through a rain game, no problem. Snow game, cold game, 4 degree, absolutely not. But the point is this. The fans are losing fingers, but you think you're getting the best Patrick Mahomes? You're not. We're not. America's not. Do it for America. Dome over every NFL stadium and stop playing games in temperatures that cause people's fingers to fall off. How do any of you think that's good for football? I'm going to go take a deep breath while Alonzo does his sports flash.
The preceding emotional rant was brought to you by the number 57.
Do the sports flash!
I'm going to do this really long thing that you wrote. The quarterback market got heated yesterday with multiple moves being made. Russell Wilson has found his new team, allegedly agreeing to a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He hasn't signed it yet. The deal can't be signed until the league new year starts Wednesday, in which time I'll have to buy Rob lunch, but is expected to be a very team friendly, as Wilson is still owed $38 million by Denver. Tampa made their deal with Baker Mayfield official after his revival yesterday year. That deal is for 3 years at $100 million, including $30 million guaranteed each of the next 2 seasons. And Trevor Lawrence has some competition on the Jags locker room as Jacksonville acquired former Patriot Mac Jones from New England in return for a 6th-round pick. The move leads many to believe New England will draft a quarterback with the number 3 overall pick. More to come right here on The Fan Upstate. I don't know what a chill pill tastes like, but somebody needs one. Just saying. That's a good one, Zach. Daggone it, you made me laugh out loud. I hate when that happens. What's up, Shane?
Yesteryear.
I don't know why you're saying yesteryear, but okay. Yesteryear, all my problems are now in the rear.
Went to a game and lost my ear.
If you did, you're singing way in tune. I'm just guessing that would probably affect your, music ear. I'm glad the Florida contingent is here for support.
I'm not apologizing for any of this.
No apologies necessary for an opinion not shared by most. But, as someone who spends a lot of time on islands, this is your island.
I will fight and die on it.
I'm sure it's a tropical island.
Hey, damn right it is.
So that will help you there. I don't know, Zach. He says it gets pretty cold in Pensacola.
Yeah, and they don't play football there.
How
They
cold?
do,
I was
Pensacola.
going to say,
University of
really?
West Florida, baby, the Argonauts.
Okay, yeah.
Go Argos. Wen jumped on the stream. He said, while in New York City, I never understood sitting in 0-degree weather to watch a sport that's also free to watch on TV. Correct. Correct. It makes no sense. None, nine, not a drop of, not a lick of sense, as my grandmama might
Well,
say.
listen, as far as that goes, I don't want to sit in 100-degree heat and watch a game. So I'm just going to sit in front of my TV. I don't want to sit in front of 40-degree weather. I'm going to sit in front of my TV. I don't want to sit next to people. So I'm going to sit in front of my TV because people are smelly.
What games are you hanging out at?
In 100-degree heat, everybody's stinking.
All right. Welcome back to the Rob Brown Show. Enters hour number 3 here on The Fan Upstate. Wonderful to have you all with us today. Cold weather football sucks. Okay, let's get into college football here for just a minute. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports put together a pretty interesting article that had a few different notes on it that I think we need to get into.
Quick question. None of that has to do with the Big Ten, right? Because that's cold weather football, so you can't really talk about that. You said we're getting away from that.
No. I can talk about it. I will just hate it when I do.
I feel like I was lied to on the radio then. You said no more cold weather football.
No more playing cold weather football. We're going to talk about it. Texture said, how about sitting in 0-degree weather to watch the ball drop in Times Square? Those people deserve to lose digits. Ha ha ha. Let me be clear.
Oh, it's probably really warm there because you've seen how close all those people are.
No, here's the thing. I learned about this because I've always wanted to go experience it one time, right? I just wanted to go see the party. I didn't know this. My fiance has done it one time. She went to New York City for a ball drop. I didn't know this. When you go, they have, it looks like it's a big crowd of people. It's not. Okay. I mean, it is a big crowd of people, but they have 10 by 10 barricaded squares that they put X amount of people in. You are herded into these pens like cattle, right? And once you're in a pen, and by the way, if you want in anywhere close enough to see the ball drop, you got to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and then wait till. But here's the thing. If you leave your pen, they replace you with the next person in the front of the line, and you go to the back of the line to get back in, which means that the people in these pens, the one that make it all day, they wear diapers and they just relieve themselves in the pens, which means if you get there at 6 a.m.
Pen to pens.
That's good.
For when you need.
That's good.
To go on the go. I don't know.
If you are staying in those pens all day, start to finish to watch the ball drop, not only are you relieving yourself in your own pants, you are in a 10 by 10 pen full of other people who have relieved themselves. That is literally a 10 by 10 pen full of people that are literally full of you know what.
They stink.
I know. Again, same thing with 4-degree football. I now have negative interest in that. It turns out the ball is actually more visible on my 75-inch TV in my living room. It turns out. Shocking, right? All right, let's get to this Dellinger article real quick. Apparently, there's been a little bit of a snag in the CFP playoff expansion. We've told you that the move to 14 teams at this point, I feel like at this point, we all feel like it's pretty much inevitable now, right? We're going to 14 teams. The powers that be, they want more teams. The powers that be are going to get more teams. This is no longer a matter of if, this is solely a matter of when this happens. So there's a bit of snag in the discussion. And apparently that snag comes from the fact that the playoff model that was pitched, that of course is the model we told you about last week. That of course is the model that would have the automatic buys fall every year. Exclusive rights to the automatic buys would be owned by what is now being referred to as the Power Two. The Power Two, of course, being the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference. So The discussion taking place now is not just the automatic buys that would go to those two conferences. The discussion now also revolves around the revenue distribution model. That would see if that format is adopted. The discrepancy of money would now see a $300 million difference between the Big Ten and the Big Ten and the SEC and the Power 2, or not as Power 2, of the ACC and the Big 12. Ross Dellinger says that there would be a $300 million difference betwixt the two. The Power 2 would earn, estimated, about $760 million a year. The ACC and the Big 12 would likely receive around $300 million a year. And it turns out, and this is going to come to the shock and surprise of exactly and precisely nobody, everybody who's not the SEC and the Big Ten, not on board with this plan. Not at all. Because, as the old expression goes.
You mean the lesser voices are not on board with the plan?
Yes. They're basically being cut out in a way that they would become non-competitive with the Big Two. The problem isn't even that. The problem is they would be non-competitive with the Big Two, but expected to play on the same field. It's just not how it works. They would become the equivalent of an at-home basement podcaster having to go up against Lonzo and I. Is it possible? Yeah. Could they succeed? Yeah. Could they ultimately win? Yeah. But it ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to do just because, if nothing else, forget the talent, because of the resources around the talent that are in no way, shape, or form provided for the low-level football. And at this point, low level means the ACC and the Big 12. We're not talking about the group of 5 teams here, who, by the way, the split up would go this way. According to Dellinger, who deep dived the numbers, the Power 2 would earn around an expected $760 million versus around $440 million for the ACC and Big 12 to split up, versus for everybody else, $115 million. No school's revenue will decrease due to the expansion. It's just that a bunch of schools will see 3 times the amount of money that they are getting now. That's ridiculous. You add on top of the fact that you can earn more money by having teams in a conference get into the playoffs. The participation distribution is expected to account for $100 million. That is to say, teams will earn between $3 and $5 million each for participation and advancement into the playoffs. You make the playoffs, you're catching a check for around $4 million on top of everything else. Well, if you are already getting, as a conference, $350+ million, and now you're getting an extra guaranteed team into the playoff every year, as the plus model would give you, that means that's even more money for the teams who get in to continue to advance. Now, this is akin to the reason that we have, for instance, federal antitrust laws. Because unbridled, unregulated capitalism has an inevitable conclusion, and that is one entity at the top and nobody else even able to compete. You're just basically able to bully everybody else out of the game by hoarding the resources. That is the inevitable conclusion of unregulated, unrestricted capitalism. And so in this system, for the folks that are saying, oh, it just sucks to be you if you're on the outside looking in, like Lonzo did a minute ago. When it comes to looking up, if you are not in the Big Ten or the SEC, but everybody else has to play in your game, they can't compete. And then the powers that be are going on top of that. We're also going to give ourselves free money on the outside by giving ourselves auto bids in, auto qualifiers in.
There's a way to solve this, though. There's an easy way to solve this. If you're the ACC or the Big 12, just come on over to the Big 10 or the SEC.
No.
Then there's no longer a problem.
That solves it for about 5 schools. It solves it for about 5 schools. It solves it for Clemson. It solves it for Florida State, Miami, North Carolina. That's about it. It's about all it solves it for. Does this solve
there
it
is
for?
anybody in the Big 12 that would move over? I mean, you just mentioned the ACC. You didn't mention any Big 12 teams that might. It got to be at least one team over there that's good, right?
I'm sure you could probably dig for it. I mean, who though? Oklahoma State, Kansas State.
Okay, all right.
Right? Like none of these attract attention.
Okay, all right.
And so there is a world, and the closer we get, the more we watch this play out, the more I think this might be yet another inevitable outcome. There is a world out there, great one, where we're going to end up with 2 distinct college football levels. We're going to end up with the power level, and we're going to end up with the group level. You're going to end up with the Big Ten and the SEC, who at that point will be able to pilfer whoever is remaining, plus Notre Dame, right? So Florida State, Clemson, UNC, NC State, Miami, maybe Oklahoma State, if Oklahoma wants them to come along, whatever. Those schools jump in. We end up with a top tier, and then we end up with a secondary tier of college football. You're going to end up in a tier that has BYU, Texas Tech, Houston, Cincinnati out of the Big 12. It's going to end up with who? Virginia, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Syracuse out of the ACC. And that's it's going to end up. That's going to be the difference. Texter said if the Power 2 were splitting just under 800 mil, when split between the two, that's around 350 each, which isn't that far off from the ACC. Oh, no. That 350, that is split between the ACC and the Big 12. That's not the ACC gets 350 and the Big 12 gets 350. That number is split between the ACC and the Big 12. So the 760 mark that Dellinger's putting out there as an estimation, that 760 mark would see 360, whatever that number is, 370 to the Big 10, 370 to the SEC, and then that 350 mark would see 175 going to the ACC, 175 going to the Big 12. It is a massive disparagement between the two, about $150 million difference between one conference and one conference, SEC to ACC, SEC to Big 12, Big 10 to ACC, Big 10 to Big 12. About $150 million a year per conference. And that number, by the way, is only going to grow. And when inevitably, whether it's in the next couple of years or in 2036, when those last standing crown jewel caliber programs make the jump over, the ACC and the Big 12 are dead. They are dead. I think we are already there. The only question is, do they form one last effort between the schools that remain when FSU and Clemson and the rest of those schools make the jump over and try to build something with limited resources? Or do we ultimately end up in a world where we have 2 different levels of group? Do we have 2 different levels of group play versus power play? Do we have a Big Ten SEC college football landscape over here that declares its own national champ, and then an EEC, everybody that's remaining group over here that declares its own national champ? Do they play each other at the end of the year? Do we just accept that we have 2 levels of college football and Rob and Lonzo have to do a lot more show prep every Sunday? I don't know.
There are more levels than 2 already. So why not just the teams that don't make it in the SEC or the ACC drop down a level?
Because the level below them, which already struggles for survival, is going to feel about the new schools the same way that the current schools in that spot feel about the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't know what the happy outcome is here. I don't know if there is a happy outcome, to be honest with you. I don't know where all this goes. Again, it's a billion-dollar business at this point. Dellinger goes on to say a variety of 14-team formats are circulating around the industry right now, including the one that made the news last week, which granted 3 automatic qualifiers to the SEC and 3 to the Big Ten, 2 to the ACC and the Big 12, and 1 to the highest-ranked Group of 5 program with 3 at-large bids. There is also the 2-2-1-1-1 model. That would be 2 automatic berths to the SEC and Big Ten, 1 to the ACC and Big 12 champions, and 1 to the highest Group of 5 with 7 at-large spots. There's also a 5+9, which is the current 5+7 12-team format with 2 additional at-large spots as well. Here's the thing. We're going to all sit here and make all the arguments about which 14-team playoff format is the best one to play under. At the end of the day, none of that's going to matter until they figure out what the distribution revenue model looks like. Because all of these different things, all of these formats, the one that ultimately wins out is going to be the one that the power players decide is the most profitable model to play under. And now it's gotten to a point that the writing is on the wall for the not too big dogs, that survival is at stake at this point, or at least survival being considered as one of the top conferences in football.
At what point, if you're the Big Ten or the SEC, can you use this in recruiting?
At what point? You've always been able to utilize resources.
But even more so now, especially as it starts to lean this way, you can go, hey, you want to play for a national championship? You come over here. If not, you aren't.
Again, I have at length discussed for years the facilities arms race that college football programs are under. This is why, you ever seen the inside of LSU's locker room and football facility? It's incredible.
No, I might run into Kim Mulkey, and I don't want to do that because she's a punk.
Are you saying you don't want to be in the family? Go look at pictures of the inside of LSU's locker room or Alabama's locker room. They're insane. I mean, they're ludicrous. Why are they ludicrous? Because it's an arms race. It always has been. LSU's built like 10 new locker rooms in the past 15 years. It's like every 2 years they knock one down and put up another one. Why?
How many?
Because it's an arms race.
How many national championships has that got them? One that I can think of.
Pretty much.
Okay. All right.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Hey, winning a natty's hard, man. Winning a natty's hard, and it's only going to get harder. That's why this arms race takes place. Because even if you're not winning natties, if your recruiting falls off, it makes it that much harder to do it. Part of the discussion about the transfer portal. Part of the reason that folks like me were on board with the portal is because it has already kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. You can't just dominate the recruiting records, the recruiting trail, and then use your recruiting success to garner more recruiting success. You have now got to be genuine and legitimate with the players on your roster, or they will go elsewhere. And when they go elsewhere, guess what ends up happening? Recruits go, guys are hemorrhaging out of this program. Why would I go there? So anyway, I'm interested in seeing what direction this goes in. By the way, big props to Ross Dellinger. He has been triggering a lot of the conversation that we've been having around all of this. I want to talk more. We'll talk more about this with John Blau coming up later on at 8:40 from the Post and Courier. Talk some Clemson basketball, but I want to talk about his thought here because Dellinger goes on about the ACC in this conversation. He said, quote, the CFP's further delineation of the power structure in the industry likely exacerbates the ACC's plight in keeping some of its biggest brands from exiting. The gap in the revenue distribution model may further incentivize programs to follow FSU's example at a legal attempt to exit. He writes, quote, as their television deal falls further financially behind the Power 2, 7 ACC schools, FSU, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech, met independently last year to explore a potential exit strategy. Leading the expedition were Florida State and Clemson, the two most disgruntled and perhaps valuable programs seeking a new conference. FSU took an initial step in its exit strategy in December, making a legal filing against the league. Court dates are set for later in this spring. And obviously, we've been telling you about this story. But Dellinger then adds this line, quote, Lonzo, attorneys for Clemson have spent the last several months gearing up for legal action of their own. Sources with knowledge of the discussions tell Yahoo Sports, end quote. So they've been sitting on the sideline watching FSU do this thing, but Dellinger says within the next few months, we might end up seeing Clemson go ahead and attach some legal filings onto what FSU's been doing.
It's killing me because you have that music thing that you could play right there. And if you missed the opportunity twice now when you said, I know you're busy and everything, maybe I need to get that cut myself because it would have been perfect right there. I mean, you
little weirdo.
No, not that one. The dun, dun, dun.
Oh, that's right. I get so caught up in hosting the show.
Yeah, I know that's. I mean, you forget that you could do that too. But we have this little rivalry thing when one person has a cut, the other person can't have it. I don't know why we decided that because it would have worked really well right there. That's basically all it's going to amount from a Clemson lawsuit is. Yeah, that's basically it. Oh yeah, we'll see you in court. Okay.
I mean, there's a reason that is a genuine threat.
Well, yeah, for some things, yeah.
And keep in mind, this is not.
What are they going to court for? To get out of the ACC?
Yes.
Or okay, all right.
This is not just about Clemson going to court. Overdoing it now. This is about Clemson adding their resources onto the resources of Florida State. Now you have the two most valuable brands in the ACC on the same page. And oh, by the way, if somebody else steps forward, you end up with the possibility of the mob mentality in the ACC. Oh, Florida State and Clemson are now working together arm in arm in the legal system. North Carolina, Virginia, these are very resource-heavy schools that have a lot of lawyers that graduated from it. Now, all of a sudden, if those two schools decide to throw their weight around, well, now North Carolina State and Virginia Tech might get involved. And if North Carolina, Virginia Tech get involved, now you might have who the hell else start to get involved. I accidentally pressed the space bar. I didn't mean to play it that time. But it actually
still worked.
It actually worked.
Yeah.
It actually worked. So we'll see what all this means. That article from Ross Dellinger up on yahoosports.com. If you want to check it out, let's take a break. We'll come back. Short segment next. Then John Blau with the Post and Courier joins us at 8:40 to talk a little Clemson athletics. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate.
Here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. High temperatures reaching the lower 60s for today under mostly sunny skies. For tonight, clear, a low of 37. Tuesday, lots of sun, warming up to 70. And Wednesday, 74 degrees. I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll on the Fan Upstate. Currently, 37.
3-2 in the second half. And
It's time to get serious about the NBA awards features. One that I'm keeping an eye on is Most Improved. All year, the leader in the clubhouse has been Tyrese Maxey, but lately, there's been a stalking horse. His name is Kobe White. He's having an incredible season for the Bulls. He's having career highs in almost every category, and he's averaging 20 a game. You can get him at plus 400 right now, and it just might be the right play. I'm Trista Crick, helping you beat the books and bet smarter with BetQL. Download the BetMGM app.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger. For the ones who get it.
Hey everybody, it's Boomer Esiason. eBay Motors is here for the ride with the parts you need for the prices you want. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com.
Apologize for not talking very much right now, but I didn't sleep well, and my brain is just like taking a nap. Some would say that my brain is always taking a nap, but
that time of year. Cash the ticket. Jim Costa with Mike Valeni. We shift the focus from football to college hoops. Playing that system that's not a system, but sure plays like a system leading up to the tournament. We're looking for that value with the daily dive. We look at the gross lines, getting us ready for the tournament where we're going to break down all the matchups and have an eye on some future plays too. This time of year, baby. Search Cash the Ticket on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Today, plenty of sunshine and breezy, high at 64.
Weather brought to you by Robert Half.
9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring today. Robert Half is here to help. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. That's progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
They're not on, Steven. It's because I'm not talking that you can hear them. So, I mean, that's actually feeding into Rob's mic because I wasn't talking. So I need to either turn the stream off when I don't feel like talking or just talk about not talking for like 3 or 4 minutes, which I can do. I can talk about anything for like 3 or 4 minutes if I need to.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you here on a glorious Upstate Monday morning. Look at that. The sun's up. Stupid time change. Hate you so much.
Who in this room is not taking a nap today?
Not a hand in the air to be seen. So we talked a little bit about it earlier. We've had a couple of texts and tweets come in and asking about it. So let's get back to this SEC championship dust up that we saw yesterday. South Carolina, they end up winning a 79-72 battle down to the wire with the LSU Tigers for the Southeastern Conference Women's Basketball Championship. And, of course, it was marred by the fight that happened at the end of the show.
6-0 run Gamecocks for Wiley, and that could be an intentional foul.
Oh, we don't want this.
And quickly things escalate on both sides, both coaching staffs coming out to try to pull their players away. With blood on her lip, let's see what just happened again. Flau'jae Johnson holds on to Mylasia Fulwiley. And then Flau'jae pushes Watkins. That's when Cardoso comes up and pushes Flau'jae down. Somebody jumped over the scorer's table from the stands. There's also police escorting a fan out who leapt over the scorer's table onto the court.
So, a lot of moving parts to this. You had the intentional foul, which, hey, part of basketball. You had a breakaway. You're trying to keep a free couple points going on when you're down with just a couple of minutes left to play. The intentional foul happens all the time. That's basketball. I would rather you go to the line, shoot a couple, risk you shooting a couple and getting the ball back, as opposed to you just getting a free breakaway layup that makes this game even harder for us to win. That's part of it. The pushing and the shoving afterwards, let's call it what it is. This game was chippy. This game was dicey. Start to finish, these two teams were at each other's throats. And, of course, it's a rivalry game at this point. Has LSU South Carolina, Zoe, has it been heated enough the last 2 years that we're willing to go ahead and slap the rivalry label on it?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. Don V. Mulkey is a rivalry. You had a group of players from last year on LSU that got bumped by South Carolina a couple of times that they didn't like it that much. They're still heated about it. These are I would say these are the two best teams in college basketball. And then Iowa floats around when Caitlin Clark's on a heater like she was yesterday when they won the Big Ten. So it's a rivalry. So you already have a heated game. Anytime these two teams play at all, it's going to be a heated game. Then you had the intentional foul. And even if it is 100% part of basketball, anytime there is an intentional foul like that, it is going to garner some emotional reaction. Then you had the pushing and the shoving. Again, if you want to make any argument about how to prevent this, the argument is the officials should have done a better job throughout the course of the game trying to control the lack of discipline between these two teams. I will 100% acknowledge, as Lonzo was pointed out a couple of times incorrectly, that LSU was trying to get into the head of the South Carolina Gamecocks with the elbowing and the ribbing. And, whenever you're in a game like that, would you notice you come down with the rebound and all of a sudden those elbows are just a little bit higher when they're swinging around than they normally are.
Angel Reese was throwing some Draymond Green stuff out there.
Sure.
They just didn't connect the way she was trying to. If that elbow that she threw back, that was not a basketball move that she got a foul on, if that connected, it would have been bad. So they were throwing some things that were not connecting like that. This was heading in that direction, and you were kind of hoping that the game would finish out and it wouldn't happen. But when it did, it was no surprise.
Not at all. This was a heated game from the beginning. And listen, I do not condone what happened. I don't think anybody condones what happened. What I'm not going to do is, get my draws in a twist, as Chuck Barkley might say. Not going to get my boxer briefs twisted up about it.
I would just say, Kim Mulkey, have a more classy thing to say at the end of the game.
I'm glad you brought that up. It turns out I have both clips. Here is how Dawn Staley responded.
Coach Staley, congratulations. Your 8th SEC championship in 10 years. How did you get it done today?
The players. It's all about the players being able to make plays on both sides of the basketball. I just want to apologize to the basketball community. When you're playing in championship games like this, in our league, things get heated. No bad intentions. They just try. Their emotions got so far ahead of them that sometimes these things happen. So I want to apologize for us playing a part in that. That's not who we are, and that's not what we're about. But I'm happy for the players that were able to finish the game and get us another championship.
Coach, how will you address this with your team?
We're going to talk about it. We've always talked about it. Never leave the bench. Never get too high with the highs or low with the lows. It's hard when you're playing. I played this game a long time, and I can't tell you I was a saint at all times. Okay? Your emotions get the best of you. It's unfortunate that the players that got ejected can't be a part of the celebration.
Yeah, that's it. Your emotions get the best of you. It happens. Here's how Kim Mulkey answered.
Flage, what I saw, intentionally fouled Fulwally because she stripped her. Great move, because she's going to get a layup right there. And then some jawing went on with her and another player. And then the next thing I know, Cardoza just waylaid her.
Well, that was not the clip that I thought it was. Here's the second half of what Mulkey said.
No one wants to see that ugliness. But I can tell you this. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Don't push a kid. You 6'8". Don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion. Let those two girls that were jawing, let them go at it.
Kim, first off, Angel Reese, who had been taking her shots, handing them out too, but taking her shots in this game, was limping to your bench already. We all saw it. All right. She's already busted up. Second off, your player, the 5'10" player, the someone that little that you are talking about, she's the one who pushed first. I don't know if you caught that. The intentional foul, again, I agree with Kim Mulkey. The intentional foul, part of the game. Part of the game. The first push came from your player, right? So when your player pushes and then gets pushed, yeah, you got to go in your head. How many times have we heard the phrase, second player always gets caught, right? You got to know that. But your player hit the first shove and then got bumped to the ground by Cardoso. That's on your gal. I think Kim Mulkey needed to handle this the same way Dawn did. Hey, look, emotions get heated. It's a championship game. There's a trophy on the line. It got out of hand. We're sorry for our part of it as well. And you know what happens? We all go, it is what it is. It's basketball. It's sport. That's how this works. To come out, I wish she'd have put. That is big guy who takes his shirt off at the bar energy right there. Bro, I wish you'd have done it to me, dog. I wish you'd have pushed me, bro.
It's also a possible instigation to what's going to happen next time they meet each other, which could happen in the tournament.
Could happen literally in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, we can see this matchup again, and now it's inflamed. I agree. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, John Blau for the Post and Courier is going to join us. We're going to talk Clemson basketball after their loss on the road to Wake Forest as they get set for the ACC tournament that starts up on Wednesday. But we're also going to ask him about Clemson's part in this Ross Dellinger article we just talked about. That's coming up next. I am Rob Brown, the great Malonzo on the ones and twos. The Rob Brown Show rolls on next. It is the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to step aside for a minute while we get John Blau loaded up. Y'all stay right there. We will be right back. The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan of State. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and Lonzo with you to the phone lines. We go now, as we do every Monday at this time, to talk a little Clemson athletics with a young man who covers that athletic department for the Post and Courier. He is John Blau, joining us here on the show. John, good morning, buddy. Happy time change. How's it treating you?
Just a little groggy, but I'm doing okay. I think so.
You obviously will join in our petition to make the time change not a thing anymore, right?
Yes, no, I would happily go along, whichever one you want to go with, the one that's backwards, forwards, whatever, but let's just keep it the same.
Please and thank you. John Blau for the Post and Courier here on the show. I want to get to basketball, John, but before we do, I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to read into it or if you've had any thoughts on it. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports put out an article that he said that Clemson has a group of lawyers beginning to discuss the possibility of joining up in the quest to change whatever they need to change legally to get out of the ACC. He wrote in an article that you could see Clemson's attorneys joining in the fight with Florida State's sometime in the near future. Is there any discussion about that going on that you've heard in the last couple of days or weeks, that we might see Clemson joining the legal fray with Florida State to make the exit from the ACC happen sooner rather than later?
Yeah, that's kind of old news / new news. Old in the terms of, yeah, they've had lawyers looking at this for a really, really long time. We all know that. Graham Neff has even said as much. He hasn't said that they've looked at it to, take the ACC to court, but we know they've had lawyers looking at the grant of rights. They've been investigating that. I think everybody kind of knows that they're kind of the silent partner here, that Florida State's been doing a lot of this dirty work right now in court, but that Clemson, at once as well to be able to get out if possible. The new part is that maybe something could happen sooner rather than later, like you said. I have not heard a ton in terms of like a timeline or like what might actually happen, or I can't give a whole lot of specifics other than what Ross Dellinger reported. So yeah, no, I would say that this is definitely something that's been going on. It could kind of reach a point where something happens more publicly that we all know about, but kind of TBD on when and if that happens, I would say.
I mean, it does certainly feel like this is something that, whether or not anything's happening, if it is, Clemson would kind of keep this relatively close to the vest. My thought has been, John, that if you're Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, any of the other ACC schools, for at least the early portion of this, you're happy to let Florida State kind of be the standard bearer. You're kind of happy to let them go out and take the first initial shots from the ACC for either. I mean, you can't, if Florida State's got a successful path, you just follow it once it's blazed. But if not, if there's any sort of blowback from the conference, you'd rather it just fall down on Tallahassee, not on your school. But the fact that this thing has kind of been blowing in the wind, and I know we got some court dates coming up next month, the fact that this thing's kind of been blowing around in the wind and nothing's really been progressed in the discussion is why I would think if with a capital I and capital F, Clemson has any plans on making a move, they might start ramping up now as we get closer to those court dates.
Yeah, it's leverage. I mean, it's all a leverage game. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, you let Florida State potentially blaze the path, because if they're able to prove that there's a way to get out of the grant of rights, or they're able to get the ACC to the table to get a definitive number to say this is what we'll negotiate down to in terms of the exit fee, then you just follow suit right after. I mean, just because that path, that template has already been put on the table, and you just kind of, do the same thing. But if maybe, like you said, things are stalled to a degree that Clemson and Florida State and even North Carolina and all of them don't really like, you can then pile on. More schools can come on and add themselves to it and kind of up the ante, up the pressure a little bit. And see if you can get the ACC to, again, come to the table, negotiate with a exit fee that's not $500 million, basically. So yeah, I mean, you can see Clemson maybe coming public with this or adding themselves in a public way to kind of get to where they want this thing to be. But for right now, as long as the core thing is going, Florida State's kind of, again, taking most of the flack. Clemson being a longtime ACC member, I don't think wants to be as public about this. Florida State, obviously a lesser, run as an ACC school, not quite as big on that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. For right now, though, yeah, Clemson is still behind the scenes a little bit.
All right, let's switch over to basketball here. Clemson goes on the road, drops a contest at Wake Forest just a handful of days after a pretty good performance at the house at Senior Day against Syracuse. Once again, John Blau, see the Clemson Tiger fans kind of starting to hit that panic button over in L. And I don't think enough has been made. Wake Forest is a good basketball team. That's a good basketball team. Same number of conference wins as Clemson, a team that got themselves out of the next four in bubble, and it looks like they've pretty much got their spot all but assured with that win over Clemson. Talk to me a little bit about the momentum shift between Syracuse and Wake Forest, what you think this Wake Forest loss means as we get ready for the ACC tournament this week.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Wake Forest team that's 16-1 at home. I mean, they play really, really well at home. Like you said, 19-12, they're a good team. They beat Duke on their home court. They've beaten a bunch of guys at home. So it's not, to me, like you said, I don't think it's a huge deal. I think by splitting the last two, you're still in a decent spot. I mean, the thing that obviously hurts the most is you don't got that double bye in the ACC tournament, which you could have had. If you beat Wake Forest, and obviously even if Pittsburgh had lost, you still would have had the double bye. But Pittsburgh goes out and wins and gets that last spot, and that's a team that Clemson beat twice, so that kind of hurts a little bit. But as far as the overall trend of the season, I mean, it still does feel like Clemson has played better basketball the last month and a half of the season. Obviously, started 4-6 in conference play, finished 11-9. So you lost. What, I can't do math in my head really fast. I mean, you went 5-3, or no, that's more than that, 7-3 for the last 10 games. So you're on a better trend. Obviously, the way they play defense. I mean, for Wake 8, I think Wake hit 58% of its shots. Hunter Salas was an absolute problem. Couldn't really shut him down. You want to see that be better, obviously, as they're going forward here. And obviously on the offensive end, I don't think Chase Hunter and Shefflin, they didn't really have their best games. But this still is a team, again, like I was saying, over the last month and a half of the season, when their best players are playing their best, they can beat anybody in the country. And when they're not, obviously, like a lot of teams, they can lose to a lot of teams in the country. So, set up with a game against Miami or Boston College in the first game of the ACC tournament, you would think they'd be able to beat one of those guys. Then you get a rematch with Virginia in the second game. You lost that team by 1 point. There's a chance to make a little bit of a run here. Again, you would have loved to have had a little bit of rest going into it, but it's still, not time to hit the panic button. I mean, they're making the NCAA tournament. It's just about seeding at this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. You mentioned it, Boston College, Miami, first round game. Clemson going to get the winner of that. Winner of that game will meet up with Virginia in the third round. Honestly, I think the bracket sets up about as well as you could ask for it, with North Carolina up top. A lot of the danger zone teams, to me, teams like a streaky Virginia or Georgia Tech team, teams like Wake Forest, all up in the top part of the bracket. I think this bracket sets up about as well as Clemson could have asked for it to. So looking at Boston College or Miami, I mean, you're favored there, Virginia in round two. What does Brad Brownell need to do to get that team to take the couple of things they struggled with against Wake Forest and get them on the straight and narrow to make a run at the ACC tournament championship?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to play defense. They're going to have to play better perimeter defense. Hopefully, again, Jack Clark has some good games, and Chase Hunter and Gerard locked down that way. Again, Virginia's a team that's going to make it a really low-scoring affair if they can. So you're going to have to deal with that. Duke, obviously, it's, I guess, the one advantage if you're thinking like a Clemson fan is at least it's not Cameron Indoor. You're not going to get that refereeing again. if you get them a second time. And so that's not something that they have to do. That's something that they are subjected to. But yeah, I mean, I would say on the defensive end, you can't let another team shoot 58% from the floor. I mean, that's not going to win you a lot of basketball games. And so, yeah, that's the number one. And then the number two, obviously guard play, hitting shots. That's just something I don't know if they could set up better opportunities or if they just have to, again, hit shots, which they've been a little inconsistent doing. So, yeah, I mean, there's that. Obviously, PJ Hall's your star player, trying to feed him, get him going a little more early. He didn't really get going early in this last game either. There's a few things you can do. But, again, I just think they need to kind of wipe the slate clean, kind of try to forget what happened at Wake Forest, try to, again, reclaim what they've done in some of their other games during this, February and March win streak and see if they can kind of, string some games together here and improve their seeding in the tournament.
Clemson plays the winner of Boston College and Miami. That matchup, Boston College-Miami, is Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Clemson will host the final game of the second round at 9:30 on ESPN2 and ESPNU. John Blau covers Clemson for the Post-Courier. He joins us every Monday on the show to talk Clemson. Appreciate you, big dog. Thank you as always, man.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You got it. John Blau on Twitter, JON_BLAU. If you want to toss him a follow as the ACC men's basketball tournament gets started tomorrow in Washington, D.C. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech at 2. NC State, Louisville at 4:30. Boston College, Miami at 7. And the winner of that game will move on to face Clemson in round number 2. The winner of that game will then move on to face Virginia in the final game of round 3 on Thursday in the quarterfinals. We got to run to a break. We'll come back here for the final hour of the show already. I feel like we just got here. You know where else we are?
Yeah, I don't feel like we just got here.
Really?
I don't.
Oh, this show's flying by to me.
I mean, well, yeah, but
Screaming by,
yeah,
full throttle, all afterburner.
There are moments of where am I?
Lonzo's on vacation next week. He's just dealing with a major bout of senioritis, is all it is.
Wow, that hurt.
You said it earlier.
Listen, I mean, I'm
Is this
AARP eligible, but
can't say
no,
anything?
no. Senioritis, though, that just implies
No,
that.
No, it doesn't. Senioritis is a well-accepted term for somebody who knows that they are done in the next few days, so they're done now. Not like you're old and going to die soon. You're on vacation, so you're going to.
All right, I got to be honest here. I was just stretching so this would actually reach the end of the hour perfectly because of the time of break and everything.
What time we need to go to break? In 20 seconds?
No, we're good now.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sports Flash!
After a massive overtime win Saturday, the Furman Paladins' bid for a Southern Conference title came to an end with an 84-77 defeat at the hands of the Sanford Bulldogs. J.P. Pagis, had 22. He was just waiting to see if I did it right. And Carter Witt had 20 off the bench, but the Paladins shot just 34% and 28% from three-point land. It got chaotic at the end, but the South Carolina Gamecocks' undefeated record remained that way with an SEC tournament championship victory over LSU 79-72. The Gamecocks went 43% from the floor and 35% from deep. Late in the game, a scuffle broke out after pushing and shoving between the two teams. But, in the end, everything worked out, and South Carolina won the game, and Kim Mulkey stole a punk. 1 big hour left right here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan, Upstate. There are walls, and then there are daggum walls, and I think I just hit the daggum wall. Hit the daggum wall. I need some more that third caffeine. I do. So much so that if I can get my mouse to work, I'm going to go get one of some more caffeine and stuff. Be right back. and still made it back before Rob. Just want to point that out. All right. Let me talk so we don't hear commercials anymore, or maybe I'll just turn them down, man. Here we go. All right. There we go. I agree, Shane. 5'10". That's not exactly short.
She's so little. Kimberly.
Although, Kim, if you're going to be the dirtiest player in the game, which obviously you are, you're going to look at, you're going to dress it, you need to act it. I mean, you need to talk it. You are talking it a little bit, but I mean, just come out and be straight up Flair all the way. LA Dragons Dogma 2 put out, the game doesn't come out for a couple of weeks, but they put out their character creator for free early. So you can go on and create your characters.
Just have them write it.
So you can jump right in. And it is the most extensive character creator I've ever seen. I made me down to the scar on my left leg. And you can tweak the scar and make it the right length. And I made the scar on my left leg like the same length as the one that actually exists. It's just the only thing I couldn't do is make my nose slightly crooked. If I could have did that. To the point where I was looking at myself on my phone so I could look there.
I put Halo Infinite on the Xbox. Got pretty heavy into that over the weekend.
Played it a bunch when it first came out.
And away we go, just like that. We enter the fourth, the final, the most magnificent hour of the Rob Brown Show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fan Upstate Spectacular. To have you all with us, my name is Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, over on the ones and the twos.
Professional wrestling is cool.
What a weekend we got going on. What a week. By the way, and somebody pointed this out to me. Great one. Somebody pointed this out to me yesterday. I didn't think about this at all. WrestleMania and the Masters are on the same weekend this year. Sweet. Best weekend ever. I get to be a classy golf guy.
So you're not doing anything for an...
Nope.
Okay. All
nope. Right. Not a thing. Not a thing. Masters all day Thursday. Masters all day Friday. Masters all day Saturday. WrestleMania Saturday night. Masters Championship Sunday. WrestleMania Sunday after that. What a day. What a day. All right, let's get some NFL in here as the free agency talk is now hitting its absolute apex. We had all the quarterback moves. We have broken those down for you already. Russell Wilson has agreed in terms to a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 1.2 vet minimum. Why? Because Russell Wilson was making, one way or the other, $39 million this year. Whoever took that deal on, whatever they didn't want to pay him, the Broncos had to come off the rest. So this may shock you, but the Steelers said, what if we just pay you the $1.2 million vet minimum, and we allow the Denver Broncos to pay you the rest? And I'm sure with absolutely and precisely no hesitation on his part at all, Russ said, that sounds good. I like that. Let's roll with that. So Russell Wilson set to make mucho dinero this year by not playing for the Denver Broncos, which is what's the word I'm looking for here? Hilarious, I think, is what I'm gonna go with. It's pretty funny. To me, it's pretty funny.
Nope.
Anyway, he's gonna sign a deal on Wednesday when the league new year starts.
I somehow muted my computer and
I figure I saw the panic in your eyes.
Well, I know how it's that. I dropped something on my keyboard.
I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, and it muted it.
Yep, don't know what that's like at all. Never been there. Couldn't be me. He didn't even go to this school. You have Baker Mayfield. Bake just signed a fat contract to up his deal with the with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Bake Show signing a 3-year, $100 million contract, 30 guaranteed this year, 30 guaranteed next year. He also has $15 million, five each year in incentive numbers that if he hits them all, that contract has a max value of $115 million.
You think one of those incentives is to beat Carolina by 40 points or more?
Go beat Dave.
Yeah.
Go beat Dave. Prove to everybody that it was you, not Dave.
Well, not just that, and show Carolina they were wrong when they let him go. So I mean, he's got a double incentive. Oh, maybe he's got 2 in there.
Maybe. We'll find out. I'm excited to see it. And of course, Mac Jones, he born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida.
Biggest surprise of the weekend right
Easy.
there. It wasn't Baker. It wasn't Let's Ride, whatever his name is, Russell Wilson. It was definitely Mac Jones. Did not see that coming at all. I mean him being
6th-round pick, by the way.
Him being gone. Okay, but going to Jacksonville, that's just weird.
That was weird. Mac Jones is originally from Jacksonville, so it's a hometown deal for him, which
So you think he called the coach, is like, listen, man, I'm from there and everything. I'm not going to threaten Trevor Lawrence. Just bring me in. I can hold a clipboard.
I'm more intrigued to see what this says, what this does for and about the Jags than I am anything else, right? Like, I'm intrigued to see, is this their idea of we're going to open up the competition? Does this mean that they think they are going to, like, this is a possibility of just a threat to Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence played pretty well. I mean, it's just that's the shocking part. It's not like he struggled. It was his sophomore season basically, and he improved to a degree.
I mean, it wasn't his sophomore season to me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, for most people it was. So and I don't get the move. I really don't.
I didn't understand it either, to be 100% honest. I don't get it.
And you know what?
Well, let me take that back.
If you're Trevor Lawrence, do you get the move, or are you like, what I do?
I'm intrigued by TL's reaction. I will say this: it's a 6th-round pick. The overwhelming majority of 6th-round picks do not have a dynamic team influence.
It's also a quarterback, whether he's been great or not, who's been a starter in the league for quite some time, suddenly getting traded to your team, and you're starting your 3rd season going, okay, am I on a hot seat here? Am I done with my rookie contracts? Am I about to be benched? I mean, for some people it would light a fire, but how much better does he need? I mean, I don't get it.
It is 100% a weird trade, and I didn't understand it. There is one more thing going on. A texter just said maybe Trevor Lawrence is more hurt than he's let on, and I mean maybe. I mean, that's not a possibility, right? Like, that's absolutely a possibility, is that Trevor Lawrence really is more banged up than anybody thought, and this is just a bit of an insurance policy against that. That is a strong possibility, texter. I am going to say, my thought is, if you were Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence did improve last year. There is no argument about that. Let's not pretend Trevor Lawrence was a Pro Bowler last year, right? Like, he improved, sure, but this is also kind of the backfire of, as was pointed out in our stream chat, available for you at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, the Fan Upstate on YouTube, or the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Shane said it's his sophomore season because he had the league's best kicking coach as his head coach in his rookie year, so that doesn't count. Yes, exactly what I've been saying the whole time. Okay? His rookie year to me doesn't count, just like Bryce Young's rookie year doesn't count. This is the rookie year for BY. This is the sophomore year for TL.
It's just like part of my soul is being destroyed by this argument. It just doesn't. I mean, it was both. Stop. I was trying to, trying to help.
I could have
Bless
turned
you.
the mic off.
You could have. You were not very tactical.
I needed the world to know that I had like a genuine.
You don't want to think that you're just really upset with my take, and yeah, I don't.
I'm allergic to bad takes.
Are you?
That's it.
Okay. Should I just go ahead and leave now?
So regardless of how you feel about their situations in their rookie year, TL and BY, Trevor Lawrence, by every statistical metric, did improve last year.
Why in the world would you throw Bryce Young in there? We weren't talking about that. We're talking about Trevor Lawrence. We're talking about a winner, and then you want to put a loser in there with the winner.
Yes, a loser. A guy with a natty and a Heisman and a guy I'm pretty sure
because as you've
until
used
last
in
year.
your arguments before, because he played in a place where he had really good players all around him in Alabama. That's
did.
why. Yeah.
Sure did. And took full advantage of them with some incredible throws that earned him the number 1 overall pick. As Shane said, it is because I have courage.
Okay.
Thank you, Shane.
All right.
Thank you.
Soldier forward.
That's what I do. So the move is an interesting one, but like I said, it's a 6th-round pick. And I think the thought here for Jacksonville is going to be, yes, Trevor looked better, but Trevor didn't look great. And also, with the injury thrown in there as well, which is a little variable that's hard to account for, as that texter aptly pointed out just mere minutes ago. He looked better. Did he look good enough that Jacksonville is going to look at Trevor Lawrence and go, that's our guy? That's our guy. That is for sure.
There he is.
To the great land. There he is. Finger gun. Is that the guy? This is a dude who threw for a 66, just a tick shy of 66% completion percentage. It's good. It's not great. He threw for over 4,000 yards, 4,016 yards. It's good. Not great. I mean, it's very good, but it's not great. And he had a TD to INT ratio of 21-14. So that's effectively almost 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, that's not really that
It's not great.
No, it's not.
A season QBR of 88. It's above average, but not much.
So you're saying he should be worried about Mac Jones?
I am saying it is incentivized now for Trevor Lawrence to upgrade his performance.
I guess they do, to agree. Do they have the same kind of game? They're the same kind of quarterback, so interchangeable almost. Same kind of body structure.
Yeah, Mac Jones?
Yeah.
No, I'll take Trevor Lawrence 10 out of
No,
10.
but I'm just saying that it's very similar.
I think the threat here is it's not going to completely change the offense for us to bench you.
Right. Or if the injury is worse, the offense can be the same because you have a similar quarterback who's in the backup role.
I think it incentivizes greatly Trevor Lawrence to be genuine in his injury, and on top of that, to make sure that he is most diligent in his rehab and recovery. And then once he has been diligent in his rehab and recovery, and by the way, I absolutely do not question Trevor Lawrence's work ethic. I don't for a second wonder, is TL16 doing everything he can do to get right and play his best ball? But I think because you brought in a guy that plays a similar game and is a multi-year NFL vet that learned under the Bill Belichick learning tree, for whatever it's worth with Mac Jones, I think you've incentivized Trevor Lawrence making sure he's playing the best football he can play. Because it's one thing if you go get a Trevor Lawrence and you have him backed up by Geno Smith. It's a different kind of ball. If you're going to make that change, you have to genuinely change everything about the way the offense operates. if I make the change from Trevor Lawrence to Mac Jones, and let's be clear, Trevor Lawrence is a guy who can make plays with his feet. This is not, Trevor Lawrence is a statue pocket passing quarterback. Now, he can get outside the pocket and move a little bit. Here's the thing. As much as it never really shined through at New England, so can Mac Jones. This is a guy who plays a very similar style of football. And so because of that, I think TL's got a little boot to butt to get it together and play his best ball. So what else comes up in the land of NFL free agency now? We have seen a number of other names that have been picked up. Lonzo, I'm assuming, threw a quick party on the compound when Chris Jones was finally re-signed by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Pretty excited about that. Definitely.
You gotta be.
That is my wife's favorite player on the Chiefs. She was pretty
he's
happy about
probably
it
the
too.
favorite player for a lot of Chiefs fans. He is a machine up the inside. That is big. You have got a couple of other moves that got made or are going to be made. The 49ers are going to be moving on from Eric Armstead. He has been a foundation of that 49ers defense. Foundation of the 49ers defense. They are just letting him walk. I find that very interesting. The Patriots made another move when they ended up bringing back wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, a 3-year deal up to $33 million in value for the New England Patriots. By the way, his agent's name is represented by Disruptive Sports. His agent's name, Lonzo, is Henry Organ. Correct. I also find that funny in a very juvenile way. I don't care. Makes me laugh. So, where do we go from here? What's next in the land of NFL free agency? Is it me, great one, or has Atlanta's decision pretty much been made for them? I think it has. I think the decision now with every quarterback that was a possibility, Russell Wilson off the board, Mac Jones off the board. It's basically, are you going with Kirk Cousins or are you going to make a monster trade to get there? By the way, Mac Jones leaving New England, it kind of to me obligates New England to take a quarterback. Now, that's not to say the 3 picks not out of play for the Falcons, because the question is, what quarterback do they go with at number 3? Do they just take whichever the big 3 is still on the board? Chicago's drafting a quarterback, yay or nay?
It's looking more and more like yay.
Chicago's taking a quarterback at 1.
I don't know if it's yay, but it's yes.
Yeah, that's a yay. Chicago's taking a quarterback for sure. I at this point, I'm already willing to place a bet down on that.
So where's Justin Fields end up at?
Minnesota. As much as I think the Bears would be hesitant to trade him within the NFC North, if they truly have given up on there's 3 reasons that I can come up with that Chicago would be ready to move on from Justin Fields. Number 1 is they truly feel Caleb Williams is a generational quarterback as he's been made out to be. Now, every draft has, this guy's a generational quarterback, and most of them aren't. Somebody pointed out earlier in the show that of the 2021 draft class, there is 1 starter remaining. It's Trevor Lawrence. He's the only guy from that class. Zach Wilson's in that class. Fields is there's a lot of teams in that class, or a lot of guys from that class that are not active now or are on their way out. Zach Wilson was in that class. So every year's got that, this is the guy that can change your team. If the Bears really believe Caleb Williams is that guy, that's a reason that they would draft a QB and move on from Justin Fields. The second reason that they would move on from Justin Fields is, and the one I think is accurate, Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus both realize their asses are on the line this year. There is no more wiggle room. There is no more cushion for those 2 in Chicago, which means they have to succeed and they have to thrive now. And so if you've got Justin Fields, unless you believe that Justin Fields is going to have a breakout OMG, would you look at him year, you're gambling on whoever's going to be the quarterback. So would you rather gamble on a guy who I think we've seen his ceiling in Justin Fields, or gamble on a guy in Caleb Williams that maybe he's a first-year difference maker? Maybe he comes in and he wins you. Maybe he's C.J. Stroud's for you. He wins you a division. Now all of a sudden everybody's job's secure for a couple more years.
Or maybe you bring him in and you lose every game.
Maybe.
I mean, it's a possibility.
But it's a gamble. And it's no more a gamble that you would end up in the exact same spot with Justin Fields. So that's reason number 2 that you would make the move. The third reason you make the move is somebody just offers you too much to say no to a Justin Fields trade. There's a team out there that just is willing to throw too much money or too many picks or whatever at you to justify you not making the move. If Minnesota, and all signs point to this being true, if Minnesota is ready to move on from Kirk Cousins, as they apparently appear to be, then that also says to me they're likely ready to throw a haul to get their guy, which means that they have one of two options. They can try to bid with the teams that are going to jump up and get to a number 3, because Washington's definitely taking a quarterback at 2, right? Doesn't matter which one. Probably Drake May, but they're definitely picking a guy at 2. So, unless somebody's willing to throw the whole bank at Chicago to get the 1, and from what we understand, the Bears are asking for the richest haul in NFL pick trade history to get to number 1. Unless somebody is willing to throw a franchise worth of picks at Chicago, Chicago's picking a QB at 1, Washington's picking a QB at 2, and New England should pick a QB at 3. The question is, who's going to be available at 3, and do they rank that high on the New England draft board? If New England wants to stay with the prototype of New England quarterback, pocket passer quarterback, they're going to trade back from 3. They're going to trade to the late single-digit picks, early teen picks, and they're going to go get J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. But maybe not. Maybe they pick somebody at 3. If Minnesota wants a quarterback and they don't want to give up the moon to either get Chicago's number 1 pick or give up less but not much more than the moon to outbid everybody else for New England's number 3 pick, their only other option is go with a J.J. McCarthy, who there's a lot of folks like me aren't that excited about J.J. McCarthy.
You can hand the ball off really well.
Really well. Either you take a J.J. McCarthy, you make a move on a Michael Penix Jr., which would still require Minnesota, I believe, to draft up a little bit. I like Michael Penix Jr. at the next level. Not as much as I like Jaden Daniels, but I do like him. You can take the risk there, or you can go get Justin Fields. And there's a lot of folks out there that still think Justin Fields can be a successful NFL quarterback. I've said a number of times, I think Justin Fields is good enough. I think he's good enough. I think with the skill position talent that Minnesota has built the last couple of years, I think they need a quarterback who is good enough. And I think Justin Fields is that guy. You got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne. TJ Hawkinson came alive at the end of the season last year. I think they need a quarterback who's good enough. And Justin Fields is likely the least expensive we think he can do it guy. You're not going to have to trade the moon. Justin Fields' trade value came down during the draft, or during the combine, pardon me. It came down during the combine. I told you that last week. And because that trade value came down, if you're Minnesota, when you do the cost-benefit analysis of getting to 1, getting to 3, retaining Kirk Cousins, getting Justin Fields, or taking a gamble on Penix or J.J. McCarthy, Justin Fields is likely the guy that is going to have the best ROI possibility based on what you have to spend to end up with any one of them.
Is there a chance Justin Fields ends up not on a team?
No, there's not. He's going to be on a team. The question mark is, again, what do the Bears decide to do? Because there's still the outside possibility that they'll go, you know what? Let's get Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1. Let's get a dominant offensive lineman at 8. Or let's get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze at 8. Let's get 2 top-notch wide receivers. Let's see if we can build a dynastic set of wide receivers to pair with DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can build the greatest wide receiver core in the history of the league, and then go with JF, with Justin Fields. If we go get Marvin Harrison Jr., and I was trying to do his initials in my head, and my brain just short-circuited.
Well, because you started to go MJF, and you knew that was a bad idea.
If they decide to go Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore, they might go, if Justin Fields can't succeed with this wide receiver core, he can't succeed, and we'll worry about our franchise guy next year because we'll have 2 rookie wide receivers on low-pay contracts. We can deal with that. I just don't think they do that. I just don't. Texter said, would you want Justin Fields in New Orleans over Derek Carr? No, Derek Carr's a Hall of Famer. Why would I give up a bona fide Hall of Famer for Justin Fields?
Which ballot is he now? Which ballot?
I mean, on my Madden game, he's a Hall of Famer. All right. That's enough of that. So there's some NFL thoughts for you. Let's get some more stuff when we come back, shall we? We got 35 minutes left to go. Let's make it legendary. Rob Alonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate.
Yeah, I was reaching for Chad Gable, which Chad was about to make an appearance.
All right, guys, give me just a minute. I'll be right back.
Moment. I thought I should not try to, bring in some levity because it's,
Steelers Super Bowl odds. They were 80-1 to win it all before
Tell me it
Russell
went
Wilson
down.
signed.
Tell me it went down.
No, it didn't change at all. They started at 80-1. It's still at 80-1.
Oh, I was hoping it went down. Very disappointed. Didn't get to use a new Nerf gun Saturday. because Matthew wasn't there. So I'm not saying who was going to get shot, but I need at least 3 people shooting the Nerf guns. It's not fair to anyone who's faced a wall before to only have to face 2 Nerf guns when 3 are so much worse. Stop it, Steven. I don't get it, okay? I do not understand. I don't.
What okay.
Tinkerbell is taking out some heavy hitters, and she's moving through, and
I'm
I don't.
a big Tinkerbell
Yeah,
guy.
but I mean, Odie's putting her through because of Julia Roberts, which does not count because it's not animated. We're only going with the animated.
Animated Tinkerbell is a strong candidate, man.
Agreed.
Strong. She gave her life for Peter Pan.
Agreed. But we lost somebody else.
Who'd she take out? Who's like the biggest name?
Well, the first name was Rhodey. She took out Iron Man, Rhodey.
Oh, Rhodey Rhodes.
Yes.
I'm totally fine with that.
I forget who she took out this week, but it's not. I was very unhappy. Sorry, I have a lack of sleep and I can't remember some things. It was just.
Steven knows. Who else did Tinkerbell take out?
I mean, I could look it up. I'll let you know in a half hour when we're in the office. Since we were missing a person, Cameron was doing D&D, so he put together a council of nerds. All his D&D guys voted on the other bracket, and he referred to it as a council of nerds, which was pretty good.
I respect that. The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and Lonzo and you. Do us a favor. Help us grow the show, man. We are trying to grow the show, growing the station. So if you're enjoying it, please tell your friends about us so we can get some more folks in here listening every day. Shout out to Stanley Carr II, who tweeted a little while ago, said he is working up by Lake Kiowee, 50 miles from his house, and listen to the show on the entire drive up. We appreciate it, man. Great to have you here in the Armada, man.
Way to go, Stanley. We appreciate it.
I like that. I like that. We appreciate it. And for the rest of y'all in the Armada that are out there driving delivery trucks and whatnot today, thank you too. We appreciate it. U.S. Women's National Team win the first ever CONCACAF W Gold Cup with a 1-0 defeat over Brasilia yesterday evening. Which to me felt like a game that they had to win. Talked a little bit about it before the semifinal matchup against Canada, a game that I said they needed to dominate. Why? There has been a changing of the guard in the most successful international team outside of men's basketball. That is the women's soccer team. Huge win over Brazil. Needed that win over Brazil. Brazil, a team that beat Mexico by 3 goals. A Mexico team that beat the United States the game before that. So why is it a big deal? Well, with the changing of the guard, a move from the Rapinos and Alex Morgans, even though she's on this squad due to injury, not because she was on the squad. With the changing of the guard, there was a lot of blood in the water around this team. There was a lot of belief that this team was going to fall off. And frankly, it looked like it had a little bit. Up through and to this tournament, it really did look like the stock in this team should have been dropping just a little bit. There's a lot of other teams that are beginning to invest in their women's national programs that looked like they were starting to catch up. And it looked like maybe this team had a bit of a falling off in talent. But hey, all of a sudden, you got the Rose Lavells and the Trinity Rodmans who are playing fantastic football. I mean, fantastic football. This tournament was about proving that at least in our little corner of the globe, we are still a soccer powerhouse on the women's side. And they did that with the win over Brazil. Listen, I think gone are the days where our women's team win games like this 4-1, 3-0. I think those games are gone. I think at this point, because the rest of the world is playing catch up, has been playing catch up for a while, and the fact that I really do think we had hit on a pretty special group of talented women in the last iteration, that we have probably gotten to the point where we should expect to win far more than we don't. But especially in tournament formats, I think probably gone are the days where we are just blowing everybody out of the water. You also got a very young team. You got a team that's got to learn through tournaments like this one. And I think they did. As Steven said, the Utes in this game looked good. They did look good. The Mexico loss was not great. That is a team that we are like legitimately 1-51 against. I think the last time Mexico beat the U.S., I'm not exaggerating, I think it was like 2001, the last time they beat us in women's soccer. So there was concern after that game. That was the reason I said we needed to go blow Canada out of the water. And I don't know that we would have or could have. I think we probably should have. But remember, that Canada game was played in a swimming pool. Girls were hitting the rock with everything they had, and it was going 10 feet and then dying in a pool of water over and over. It was very frustrating to watch. It's the reason I said that game should have been delayed today to let the field dry out a little bit. But I understand in a tournament format, when everybody's schedule is connected to everybody else's schedule, it's kind of tough to push the game off. I still think it should have been. But they went out there. They won the game against Canada the way they needed to. They went up against a very good Brazilian team. Brazil owned possession in this game, like 57% to 43%. Possession doesn't really mean much if it doesn't result in anything. The Americans allowed the Brazilians 0 shots on goal. 0 shots on goal. So you needed to win. You needed to dominate. You got a coaching change coming up here for the Americans very soon. You're going to have a new big-name coach stepping into the role. You need some momentum and some chemistry amongst the roster in order to make that successful. And that W Gold Cup game was a dub. Sticking with soccer, Greenville Triumph this Saturday night passed at home. Furman Paladin Stadium, a 3-1 win over Spokane Velocity. Man, I tell you, the boys looked real good. Real good out of the gate. Hey, it's early, I know, but that was game 1 for new manager Rick Wright, who, by the way, is going to join us on the show on Wednesday. We'll have Rick on to talk football. Real good win for the Triumph. Evan Lee had a goal. Becomes the oldest goal scorer for the Greenville Triumph in franchise history. Zion had a goal. I got 2 Zions in my life now. Love it. Love it. Becomes the youngest goal scorer in Greenville Triumph history. That was a big one as well. You had a third goal knocked through as well. It was everything you need. Leo Castro on the rebound. Leo Castro had a back heel goal. If you haven't seen it, go to the Triumph Twitter and look at it. Scored a back heel goal. I mean this. This is my, 3rd year of Triumph footy in person. It was probably, there have been some bangers scored. It was probably the first goal that got scored that it was less of a react like, oh my goodness, we scored, more of a no way. That I didn't just see that. I didn't just see that happen. It's phenomenal. So the Triumph, with only a handful of teams having played their first game in hand in USL League One, the Triumph are currently top of the table by way of 3 points and a 2-goal differential. Everybody else that won is at a 1-goal differential right now. So real good start to the season for the Triumphs. That was as good as you could have asked for. An absolute wonder goal from Leo Castro at the hour mark. Fantastic footy Fantastic footy out of the boys of the Greenville Triumph. Love to see that. Congratulations to them for the dub. We will have manager, head coach, gaffer, whatever you want to call him, of the Triumph, Rick Wright, join the show coming up on Wednesday. Texas said, good morning, gents. I woke up late and listened to the USC LSU segment at 1.75 times speed to catch up, which, by the way, you can do on the Fan Upstate. Go to fanupstate.com, thefanupstate.com. Hit the podcast button, drop it down. Within 5 minutes of the end of the hour, it's posted on the website. You can go back and listen to it, and you can listen to it at advanced speed to catch up. Text said, woke up late and listened to the USC LSU game breakdown. I was at the Well this weekend, and that was some of the most exciting basketball I've been able to personally watch. The refs absolutely let the girls play physical in the championship game, and that contributed but made for an amazing atmosphere. That's it, man. That's it. Basketball is an emotional game, but I think the thing that we don't talk about enough is that it is a physical game, especially if you're playing in the paint. It's a physical game. And when you are allowed to play physical, to me, it's better basketball, but in a highly emotional, in an emotionally charged game. And that one is both because it's for a trophy and because whether or not everybody else wants to talk about it, right now, South Carolina LSU is one of the best rivalries in college basketball going. Because it's a rivalry game and because it is a rivalry game that has a trophy on the line, they're going to get emotionally charged. I think the only thing that went wrong was that you had players come off the bench. That's it. They've got to know better. Your players on the bench have got to know better. We played you the reactions of both Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey after that game. Dawn said, look, we apologize to the basketball community. It got a little out of control. Our emotions won over. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care. I don't care. Kim Mulkey grabbed a mic and said, oh, I wish she'd have pushed Angel Reese. I wish she'd have pushed. Your girl Angel Reese was on the way to the bench, limping on the way because she was beat up in that game. Everybody in that game was beat up. But your girl threw a push. She got pushed back. The only mistake in that situation was the players coming off of the benches and a random fan running onto the court. It was the brother of the girl.
He wasn't random. That was on purpose.
It was. And again, like, dude, what was your plan? If you made it onto
that's
the court,
my
what was your plan?
sister. Yeah. Okay, dude.
Like, what was your plan? Were you gonna swing on the 6'7" Camila Cardoso? Were you gonna throw hands with a college woman? Is that your plan? What's your plan there?
He did grab her. He did grab her, and I still
did he get a hand on her?
Yeah, if you look, he came from behind. He grabbed her. So I mean, can't do that.
Do have to shout out to. I'm not sure if it was Greenville PD or Greenville County Sheriff's Department that was there working. But the cop who followed him onto the court was in his back pocket. I mean, phenomenal pass defense in the back pocket. Soon as he crossed the bench, he had a hand on and was able to get him out of there. And then multiple not plainclothes officers, but polo shirted secondary uniform officers stopped at least one, I think, two more fans from trying to follow that guy onto the floor. Like I said, what the hell was your plan, dude? What were you going to do when you got out there? Let me get Kevin in here before we take a break. Kev, what's up, big dog? Welcome back to the show, brother.
Oh, man. What's happening, my fellas?
You listening to it, bro?
I can understand you having your sisters back and all that, how you grew up and how you got your, but I'm telling you, you going down there to the Fifth Street Mansion, going down there grabbing on one of these women down there. No, that's the wrong plan there, buddy. You need to change that one up. You should have just stayed in the stands and then let your sister and them do what they do. But like you say, man, that was some good stuff right there. But again, it make you look at from the guys' side, like the NIL and guys leaving and going to the league early. Just imagine putting a few teams together to stay together for a couple years and then have that like a South Carolina, just like North Carolina and do who's people stay for a little while. Now they get to go out here and have this game and play like that, like LSU and South Carolina did yesterday. That was just all competing women that wanted to win yesterday, man.
You know, I have said for a while, Kevin, I don't care if we're talking college football, college basketball, college baseball, whatever. If you want to be a successful head coach in this day and age, there are multiple ways to do it. You can do like Mike Norvell has been doing it down in Tallahassee for Florida State's football program and, you know, figure out how to get the most of the best talent out of the portal. Or your other option is you figure out how to recruit kids who are committed players who are going to come to a team, stay at a team, and play for a team for as long as you can keep them there. And I'll say this, you can say whatever you want about Kim Mulkey. You can say whatever you want about LSU, but she put together a group of gals that wanted to stay together. She also went and got Haley Van Lith out of the portal, probably the best women's college basketball player in the portal, added that to the mix, and she built a team that, good, bad, ugly, and different, 100% play well together and have each other's back. Dawn Staley on the flip side, she had to build a whole new team. She lost everybody from her starting five from last year. She had to build a whole new team. And look at the team that Dawn Staley put together, a group of gals who want to rep the garnet and black and have each other's back. And that's why those two teams played for the conference championship yesterday.
Man, and just imagine, man, some of these girls like the Juju girl, and then you got Malaysia and girls like that, man. These girls are just now getting started, man. So if your TV can't get turned to some women's basketball here in the next 4 or 5 years, man, I tell you what, you don't like sports as a whole.
Yeah.
You just don't like it. Now, I got a quick soccer story for you.
Yeah, real quick. I got about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
All right. My daughter was playing Little League soccer. She's about maybe 5, 6 years old playing Little League soccer. She got the fast break I've been looking for. Her and just the goal. She is on her way. I'm like, yeah, Daddy's baby about to score her first goal. Then I thought about it. She was going towards the wrong goal, buddy. I went from yelling and happy to, no, baby, no, turn around, stop that ball. I tell you, now I'm going to go. Now I got to see my first soccer game. So I might have to get with you, man. I need to go see that.
Bro, come on to a Triumph game. I'll get you
Wait, Kevin, did she
stop?
Yeah, she stopped the ball.
Okay.
I was on my way on the field. Like, I was going to get my own penalty or something.
Kevin, we just talked about this. You can't do that, man.
Hey, man, I could not have gave them another point, and they would have won that game by 1. Oh, no, man, I was on my way.
Kev, good to talk to you, buddy. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. Listen to that. Come on, we'll get Kev out and do a Triumph game. I can't wait. Going ham at 7 p.m. for a little Greenville Triumph action. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with what the X is going on, and then I'm gonna go home probably. Time change killed me. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It's the Fan Upstate.
So Tinkerbell took out Little John from the bear. Yeah. Took out Little John.
Wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
Which not only did Odie sing the theme song, he grabbed the guitar, which was out of tune, and then start during the break. Yeah. Yeah. No, James. Seth Rollins dresses better.
Whoa.
Also, a big upset. Mushu beat Patrick Starr. I thought come on, Patrick Starr. I mean, SpongeBob's ride or die. I mean, you know. Pikachu took out Robin, the Damian Wayne, the other Robin is still in it. He beat Jimmy Olsen.
Really a sidekick.
He is.
I think Ash is a sidekick.
No, well, okay. I mean, maybe you could see that. Wong took out Kate Bishop.
Bush is a fantastic sidekick.
Scrappy Doo beat Woodstock.
Obviously.
Scrappy Doo's still in it. No, Shane, what's funnier than 56? We were having a good time too.
You're all bad friends.
Just ruined a good time, Shane. What are you doing, man? Come on. if I were doing a bracket and I were not on the show, part of my bracket would already have been busted. So I thought Harley Quinn was going to be final 2. I definitely want to pick Tinkerbell to make it out of first round. But I have a new crew, and I don't know where most of them are going to go. Although Cameron has voted for Tinkerbell every single time. So disappointed.
It's a good pick.
Where did I go wrong? I don't know. Oh, look at that. Time to ask Rob Brown, that guy over there, what the X is going on. And he will tell us what the X is going on.
I'll do my best.
All right. The first thing that's X, and some of these things that you may not know because depending on if you watched something last night, which I did not, but I've seen clips. Michael Keaton is the first one Xing.
We're going to go to Michael Keaton, skip right over John Cena, or is he coming up?
That's, well, now I'm going to take it off the list. If you
You
do
can't.
that.
I didn't talk about him all show. I sat here the entire show not referencing John Cena, despite the fact that I desperately wanted to.
All right. Let's talk about Batman first.
I have no idea why Michael Keaton is trending.
All right. So Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger were presenting, and they were talking about Batman. And then Danny DeVito says, there he is right there, pointing at Keaton.
I like it.
And so they come at Keaton, and Keaton just did the old, you want some, come get some.
I like that.
That's what he did.
I like that a lot.
Without changing his expression or anything, just brought the hands up like, come on, fellas, if you want some.
I like that a lot.
You should check it out because it will be memeable or whatever
for sure.
the kids call it these days. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Brock Lesnar.
So I have not finished either of the last 2 shows. I'm going to work on the assumption Brock Lesnar has not shown up.
He has not shown up, but he is back on the roster list.
Is he now?
Yes.
I a lot of people jumped at as they should have, on the attack against Brock Lesnar. But I think the difference is between what happened with him and Vince is I think we had a lot of the context with what happened with Vince McMahon. And I think it could be argued that, number one, I don't know that it has definitively been proved, although all the context says it was Brock Lesnar that was involved, that Brock necessarily knew the situation surrounding this young lady when Vince was getting them hooked up. So I'm not entirely shocked by this. I suspect Brock's time in the WWE may not be done. I really did think they would let this situation kind of come to a close. But the other entity that is now in control of WWE is TKO, who also owns UFC, the other place that Brock Lesnar gained his celebrity status. So they may have some incentive in him coming back as well. I don't know, man. That whole situation still sucks.
All right. Speculation is that he will show up tonight. So we will see.
Yeah.
All right. The next thing that's Xing is John Cena.
I see old John Cena. John Cena. I didn't watch the Oscars because I don't care. I did finally watch Oppenheimer last weekend. I really liked it. It won apparently movie of the year or whatever, the best film. Sorry, best picture.
Downey Jr. won best supporting.
Yep.
They got best director.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, it won a lot of things.
He was really good.
And by the way, I didn't watch it either. I've just seen everything on the X.
All I know is I got a text from the Madre last night at 8:12 p.m. that said, what? With that picture off of her television screen attached.
Yeah.
And let's just say,
John Cena still looks pretty good. I mean, as far as he's still cut.
I would also walk around nude most of the
You
time.
know, because he seemed like he's definitely lost muscle mass since leaving the WWE, but he's still swole.
Yeah, he's still swole.
Yeah.
Apparently, he came out during the Oscars and did a skit where he was holding a strategically placed box of some type.
They also dimmed the lights, and a pit crew came out and put clothes on him.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So, I mean, good for him.
The dude's funny.
And he's also everywhere right now.
Yeah.
All right. The next thing that's Xing is Peacemaker, funny enough.
No idea why it's trending. I assume that what John Shana did last night was somehow connected to that.
No, season 2 is about to start filming, and James Gunn has said that season 1 is not canon. So,
what?
Yeah, he's the one who did season 1, but he says season 1's not canon.
So then James Gunn is definitely rebooting the entire universe.
Well, yeah, so that's going to happen after Superman. So the events of Superman are going to affect season 2, but season 1 didn't exist, which means people who were dead in season 1 could probably come back in season 2.
Listen, all I know is
Like the bad guy, maybe.
I thoroughly enjoyed Peacemaker.
Yeah, I mean, do you bring his dad back for season 2 since season 1 wasn't canon?
I don't know. I don't care. Just give it to me. I love it. I love it.
I love the prison scene. The prison scene was great. Now people who didn't watch are like, what?
Yeah, go back and watch Peacemaker. Even if it doesn't count anymore, it's degeneracy at its finest. Then I'm a big fan. Hey, that's it for us. We're done. Thanks for hanging out, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed doing it. We'll be back tomorrow to try all over again, but do it better. For the great one, Lonzo, my name is Rob Brown. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. See you back here tomorrow to do it all over again. One day closer to Russell Wilson signing with the Steelers on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Also, one day closer to me going on vacation and being extremely tired after my vacation is over. But, whatever.
Text said, just for the stream, how'd you shoot on the golf course, Rob? A 94, which is terrible for most people who are good. For me, I'm perfectly happy.
When's the last time you had golf, though?
Like early August of last year. That is one thing I have to remind myself all the time is, dude, you play golf like maximum 6 times a year. Maybe don't think you're Tiger Damn Woods.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't think that. Yeah.
The problem is I know all the things to do in my head, but as soon as the club comes back, I just don't do them. It's real frustrating. Real frustrating.
So are you serious golfer, or are you just out there having a good time and then you use that as an excuse for playing poorly? Yes. Yeah, we're just out here having a good time.
There is a graph of Rob's mood on a golf course.
Not a
okay?
graph.
And the graph goes, it starts on hole 1. I'm just out here to have a good time. And then it elevates to, I could be pretty good at this. And then usually I'll hit like a absolute pipe of a drive, or I'll pull out the 5-iron and stick it on the green, or I do something good. And all of the sudden I'm like, damn, I am good at this. And then usually within 5 minutes of that thought, I end up chunking a wood into the woods.
So after that
like,
thought,
I suck. But at that point, I've convinced myself I should be good, so I can't revert back to I'm just out here to have a good time.
are you talking stuff to all the other guys around once you hit that shot, though? When you hit that killer shot?
No, I don't talk smack because I suck, and I know that.
So the guys you went with,
I will gas myself up.
How did the guys you went with do?
Most of them, like me, are just average for fun golfers.
So you're saying you didn't win? Are you trying to win?
No, God, no.
You're not trying to win.
No, I just try to beat myself.
How can you?
I set a score that I want to play better than, and if I beat that score, then it's a win. And if I don't, golf is not a sport that you play other people. Golf's a sport you play yourself. It's not about let me go shoot better than Chris. It's about let me go be better than Rob should be.
Chris, a hypothetical person. There was
Chris
no.
was one of the guys I played
I
with.
was gonna say there was no one there named Chris who may or may not, like be a manager or own something.
No,
something.
So there were 4 of us playing, all of us in 4 different, skill brackets.
Everybody hitting from the same tees, though.
Everybody hits from the same
okay,
tees.
all right. So there's that. Any of the 4 strong putters?
Me, actually.
Oh,
I was
wow.
putting real good. It's probably the only thing I was doing good is I was knocking down putts on Sunday. If I was not putting as well as I've putted, that score would have been at 100. I'd have hit a century mark. I knocked down about a 14-footer for a birdie. I knocked down about a 10-footer for a par. I knocked down about an 8-footer for a par. I think I had 1 3-putt on the whole round, which is spectacular. If I ever figure out how to hit a good middle iron, my score will go sub 90. I'll go down to the mid 80s. But the majority, like probably 10 strokes, came from me hitting anything from a 4 to a 6 iron and just.
All right, Steven, I guarantee you that'll never happen again. Guarantee you. Rob will never lose to Mark Ryan at bowling ever again.
If I get
ever.
told that the next party is a bowling party, I will be going to that place beforehand. Not like that place like Randy Orton. I mean, physically to that place.
No. I think you should go to that place.
If I lose again, I would go to that place.
Yeah, it's a scary thing when you lose.
All right, dudes and dudettes, you're all spectacular people. Thanks for being here. We love you. We'll see you back here tomorrow, I hope. Have a great rest of your Monday. Goodbye.